2.
Race fans, 3Y TV welcomes you to the second running of the Nostalgia 300, brought to you by Bryson Hickson-Baugh. I'm Andre Graham-Bush, joined alongside Will Tiller, and of course producer Carlos Acosta, pushing buttons, bringing all the action to your TVs and computers. Tonight, you are in for some old school action as we step back in time to the Gen 4 era. Now, Will, these drivers are going to have to face off against one another while foregoing a lot of the modern luxuries they're used to. The cars are going to be harder to handle. The rules are less forgiving with those stages breaking things up sort of inorganically. What are you looking forward to tonight?
Oh man, I'm looking forward to using my flip phone once again. We're throwing it back here a little bit to around the 2007, 2008 days here. So I think we're really in for a treat on this broadcast, Andre. These drivers aren't going to be used to this car, although they've been running some practice laps and qualifying laps here. But this car is way back on the line. So all the practice you've been doing in the modern trucks, modern Xfinity cars, modern next gen, throw that all out the window because tonight we're throwing it back to the old school. And I'm excited for it.
Man, now you got me thinking about digging out my old feature phone that slid out with the keyboard, you know, back before smartphones.
The sidekick.
Exactly. Yeah, you mentioned these cars. You know, you kind of have to throw out the rule book for what you learned with the new car, and that's exactly right. I mean, we've been watching practice here, and it's kind of funny with the next-gen car. The whole goal is to keep it from getting sideways. If that thing gets sideways, you're doing something wrong, and generally it's pretty hard to save once it does start to get past that slip angle. This car is pretty much sliding the entire way through the corner, and if you're not sliding it, then you're going to be going too slow to compete. So it's almost the exact opposite of what a lot of these guys coming from the modern Cup side of things have actually learned. So it's going to be a bit of an adjustment, and I've seen a few people really trying to just feel the car out so far.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of that here. It's going to be a long race at this track tonight, Andre, so the drivers have plenty of time to start to figure out their lines, how to work these cars around. Because what we're used to seeing in those next gens is side draft action. You know, you can ram right up the back bumper with some of these cars. But as you mentioned, Andre, we're watching a little bit of practice here. These cars slide a little bit. So you have to take that into a factor as well when you're trying to get around these corners, trying to get around the guy in front of you. Your back end's going to slide up from underneath you, whereas the next gens are going to stick to the racetrack. So it's going to be one of those races. We're either going to see a lot of cautions, Andre, or it's going to be a very calm, cool, and collected race with these drivers taking mental notes as these laps tick down.
And I think this year's edition of the Nostalgia 300 poses an additional challenge just with a track choice. Last year when we ran this race, we went to Chicagoland, and I remember pretty distinctly there was quite a bit of cloud cover. So the track was actually pretty easy to drive. It wasn't much of a hassle to get around that place. But here at Atlanta, you got the sun high in the sky. The surface is old and worn out. It eats at your tires. And right now, the pavement is somewhere about 106 degrees, probably going to go up more as the day goes on. So definitely challenging conditions as practice is about to wrap up. We got 10 seconds left on the clock before we get into 5 minutes or 2 laps of qualifying. Now, there are some bonus awards for the drivers in the field tonight that will be paying out real money, one of which is the Turtle Juice Pole Award. Now, the Pole Award is $5 to the winner of the pole, which, funnily enough, the race entry fee was $5. So one driver will be lucky enough to leave qualifying and make their money back before the race even starts.
That's perfect. Even though you could get that good qualifying start here, or even on the pole, and your race isn't paying out the way you want it to, you're still going to get your money back for your entry here tonight.
Now, of course, if you do wind up winning, you're going to be making even more money. It looks like first place is going to be awarding $25. Second place will be $20. Third place is going to be $15. Fourth place will be $10. And fifth place, the final paying position, will be another $5. So plenty of ways for these guys to recoup their money. There's a few other awards I'm reading on the sheet here. We also have the Knee-High Septic Stinking Up the Race Award. That'll be $5 for the most laps led. We got the Zombie Tachometer's Fastest Lap Award. That's another $5 if you can put down the fastest lap during the race. And the Before It Breaks Auto Parts Keeping It Clean Award. Lowest finisher with 0x. I believe that means lowest as in numerically, like first, second, third. If you get 0x and you are the furthest up the grid, then you're going to get a little bit of bonus cash there too. So just a little extra incentive, but you know, I don't think these guys needed a whole lot of incentive. I think a race like this is just a lot of fun, and these guys are probably looking for something different after running the new next gen Cup Series so much this year. And I know a few of these guys have really been looking forward to this, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Qualifying has begun, and I'm going to try and look
I'd
and
like to
see if
point out, my mic is hot. There is a mystery award that will be announced when the race is over. So there is an additional award for $5.
Ooh, all right. So stay tuned to what that mystery award will be as we're taking a look at qualifying now taking place. Andre, you're seeing these drivers really getting that first-hand view of how to push these things along. Right now, we have Anderson at the top of the grid with a 31.3. This is going to go quick. These drivers are going to get their laps in. They're going to get that starting position. But like you said, Andre, whoever gets that pole position is going to get $5 right off the tip.
yeah, a lot of drivers out there trying to get that $5 right now. Looks like Van de Sant is going to be topping the charts with his first lap, 30.93. And we've got Cameron Stone, who very explicitly told me in the garage area before the race that he was getting this pole. That is his words. And he is P2 right now, 1/10 back. So he's got another lap to make it happen as he's coming around 3 and 4. Is another car making their way out. That is the Before It Breaks Auto Parts Machine, Bryson Hicksonbaugh, man putting this race on for everybody. And it looks like Cameron Stone will not improve with his second lap, but somebody who will make a solid effort is Casey Carrington. Now, he ran last year in the Nostalgia 300, and he is currently a hundredth of a second off of pole. Alex Van de Sant still just barely clinging on to that position, as it looks like Burden is going to move Cameron Stone off the podium for qualifying, bump him down to fourth, right ahead of Anderson, Mason Lowry, and Nelson, right ahead of Terrell, Hoitzma, and McRae, the last driver to have put down a time in 10th. But yeah, Casey Carrington, that's going to be a driver to watch out for. Will, last year, he was hands down one of the fastest drivers. I think I was in that race, and when they brought me in to interview me mid-race, I pointed out, yeah, Casey's got a lot of speed. Unfortunately for Casey, he had a setback early in the race that got him trapped a lap down, and he never was able to overcome that. So maybe this year, looking for a little bit of redemption.
Yeah, he's going to have to need that now as we have a new person on top of the grid right now. Tyler Burden is going to take that top spot with a 30.87. Sulari are up there as well on that 58. It's going to be now second, and Sant's going to be third. So then Alex Carrington, even though a very, very fast time, only 1/10 of a second off, is going to be down in the fourth position now.
We're taking a look at Adam Benefiel finishing up his qualifying effort. He's going to be down on the apron, bringing her down pit road here. Definitely not the qualifying effort he wanted. I'm not sure if he was just kind of intentionally laying back, trying to start towards the back, or if that was just kind of all the car had. But I know Adam, being a former Coke Series driver, very talented, and I'm a little bit biased, I admit. He's driving the Michael Waltrip car, so I'm going to have to be pulling for him pretty much all night. But we'll see how that goes. We got a few more cars on track.
Ooh.
He's going not around. Wow, what a save out of the 41.
That was a clean save right there. And Andre, I think we just got that Sam's Club sample of what we're going to see here tonight on the inside corners here at Atlanta. Of course, everybody knows how to run this track. Let's say in the trucks and the Xfinity cars and the next gens. With these ARCAs, it almost seems like you're going to have to go either midline or high line to make sure that thing gets around. Once you start to get low on that white line and hit that apron, the back ends are already sliding from underneath you. You just have to hold on for that roller coaster ride.
Yeah, lane choice definitely important, and it's going to be dynamic, I think, throughout the race. I think on fresh tires, you can kind of get away with running the low line. And from what Bryson and a few of the other guys were telling me, once the tires start to wear, the high line actually becomes preferable, and it's actually a little bit quicker on worn tires. But Highline, to me, was always a bit of a challenge here at Atlanta because the surface is so rough and the car's getting thrown around so much. All it takes is hitting a bump at the wrong place, and you're just kind of sliding up into that outside safer barrier, which is never a good time. Now, these Gen 4 cars, they can take a beating. They're not quite as fragile as the next gen cars, so to speak, but anytime you're in the wall, that's not exactly what you want to be doing. So these guys gonna have to be walking a fine line when the tires wear and they move up to the top. But that's the other thing to kind of mention, Will. The tire strategy and the fuel strategy is going to be a complete different ball game from what some of these guys have gotten used to. Because this race will not be broken up by stages. There will be no mandatory cautions. It is absolutely possible that this race could go
Right.
green from flag to flag. And at that point, your strategy and how long you stay out is completely up to the driver and the team.
Yeah, and I have a little bit of hard numbers here for the folks at home. So Fuel window on these old school ARCA cars, you're looking at around 60 to 65 laps for going any kind of caution flags, anything like that. We're talking about green flag windows here. And we're looking at around 6 sets of tires for these drivers here tonight. Very long race. You have to make sure you calculate those tire sets just right. 30 laps a run on each set of those tires, Andre. So I think these drivers are going to be more concerned about their tire wear than, say, that fuel window. That fuel window can get you a long way. 60 to 65 laps. That's about a half, 30 laps for your fuel, 60 laps for your tires, or flip flop there, 60 laps for fuel, 30 on your tires. So you're going to have to really kind of figure out which one you need most and which one you can kind of go without for about those 30 laps or so.
Yeah, and I think that also means that whoever can conserve early in the run and find a little bit of speed later in the race is going to have a huge advantage. And that's kind of just the iRacing way. It's not really exclusive to these cars by any means. iRacing tends to really reward those who can conserve their tires and their equipment. It's just really, I would say, exaggerated when you come to a track like this that's so hard on the tires and so brutal. So we'll see exactly what they can do. We do have our official starting grid. It is Tyler Burden on the pole alongside Mason Lowry and a Martin Truex Jr. throwback. Bryson Nixonbaugh P3, and his outside is going to be Alex Van de Sant. Casey Carrington P5, Dylan Winters in the 14 going to be P6. Cam Stone, the hopeful pole award recipient, didn't have the run he wanted. He's going to be starting P7 alongside Robert Anderson, and it is going to be Zachary Nelson and Nick Terrell rounding out your top 10. Well,
then we look at Lucas Holtzma right there in that 8 machine, starting in the 11th position. Preston McRae in that 53 is going to roll off 12th here tonight. Looking at the 13th position, we're looking at Adam Benefield right there. In the 15th is going to roll off 13th. Jason Taylor in the 14th is going to roll off in the 14th position in the 41 machine. And then rounding out our starting grid here tonight is Bryce Hoffman in that 21.
So it is going to be a 15-car field, so plenty of positions to be gained for those in the back and plenty to defend up front. But the pace car is going to make that hard left turn, and it is Tyler Burden in that 06 machine leading them to the green flag. Outside lane gets checked up a little bit. Looks like Mason Lowry might have missed his shift. At the inside is going to muscle their way by Bryce Nixonbaugh trying to peek his nose into P2, and he will get clear, pulling Casey Carrington in tow. That was a good start for Casey Carrington. If he can make this pass, that'll be up 2 from the drop of the flag, from 5th to 3rd, but he's going to have to fight for it side by side.
Yeah, as Burden takes us down into corner number 3, still our race leader to the apex of 3 and 4 right now. Hixenbaugh is in second right now with Lowry right there on the inside. You see Carrington, as you mentioned, Andre. Oh no, we already have a wreck right on the front stretch. We'll see if a caution comes out here. That is the 38 of Carrington. See if he can get it going once again. He's stalling just a little bit on that front stretch, but we are still green here on lap number 2.
Yeah, that was a single car incident, so no caution there, but it did take him a little while to get that thing gathered up. So misfortune strikes twice in a row for Casey Carrington, the Nostalgia 300 proving to be not too kind to that number 38 machine, but plenty of time to try and make up for that mistake. We are on lap 2 out of 195, so plenty of racing ahead. And if we do get a caution, that's a good chance for him to get that car fixed up, get the field regrouped, and he doesn't seem to have too much damage from what I could see. But I tell you what, that was a weird incident. The way he just kind of let off the throttle and just stuck on the outside. I'm not sure if he knew he got bumped. Okay, he got a little bit of help there.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of a help. He got a little bit of a truss shove right into that top side wall. Very early for that here, but as we mentioned there to start off this broadcast, folks, these drivers are still getting comfortable in these ARCA cars. Maybe miscalculated the run that driver had to send Carrington into the wall on the top side, but like you said, Andre, still a long way to go here tonight. I'm sure we haven't seen the last of the 38 machine.
Yeah, and to me, it really looked a lot like a racing incident. I think Carrington was just trying to arc out of the corner as you normally would, and then you had somebody behind him, Van de Sant, just kind of taking a different line. He was pinching it down out of the corner, and they were just going for the same real estate. It was unfortunate, but you see it quite a bit. And one thing that's really got me baffled here in the top 3, Will, is I've been watching the 63 of Bryson Nixonbaugh, and he's the only one out of pretty much the entire lead pack who is consistently running this high side. Now, on iRacing, at pretty much every oval circuit with every stock car, running the outside is worse on your tires than running the bottom. So I gotta wonder if Bryson knows something that these guys don't. Maybe he's not expecting a long green flag run and he's not worried about conserving the tires. But either way, very different approaches. We go to our 3-wide TV multicam. Bottom of your screen, that's a battle for the lead. Bryson trying to take the point from the high side. And the top of your screen, we're kind of looking through the field. That's Dylan Winters in the number 14 Winn-Dixie machine. Bit of a Mark Martin throwback, as he is just trying to hunt down Cameron Stone there. That is for, I believe, 4th place. Look at this behind him. He's got Van de Sant really challenging there. And we do have some webcams turned on for tonight, courtesy of some of our drivers, and of course Carlos for making that happen. There's Tyler Burden in his rig, trying to get back around Bryson, who did take the lead. And I like that setup wheel. Look how big that steering wheel is. That is a straight up stock car wheel right there.
I was gonna say, where can I get a wheel like that? I just have a prototypical starter kit Porsche racing wheel here. I don't have that wheel right there. I love that wheel. I love the setup right there he's rocking with. It looks simple in nature, but you know that he is rocking it right now in the 2nd position with that wheel. I think Burton, he's going to have some speed here tonight. Maybe letting Hicksonball go here, as you mentioned, Andre, not but a few laps ago. That tire wear, you start running some different lines, you start battling it out, eats at those tires a little bit. But now you see that rear end camera of Tyler. He has some speed behind him here down the backstretch.
Now here's something interesting to point out. When we started this race, the track temp was 106 degrees. Now just a few laps later, the clouds have rolled in en masse. It is very overcast at the moment, and the track has plummeted down to 99 degrees, which as far as Atlanta is concerned, is pretty cool. So they're getting a little bit more grip, and I gotta wonder if that's why Bryson was running the top. He felt that grip, he felt that the track was a little bit cooler, he knew it wasn't gonna be as hard on the tires, and everybody else was just trying to drive it like it was still a hot surface. But he knew that grip was there, and it worked out pretty well in the short term at least.
Yeah, talking about grip, we're riding along with Cameron Stone here in the 3rd position. Watch when he comes off of the corner. You'll see that steering wheel kind of jerk out of his hand just a little bit. I think it's because the back end slides. You see it right there, just the slightest. You'll see it more when he comes off of corner number 2. It's almost like the back end wiggles on him. He has to correct it. You saw it right there on the entry of the corner. Watch his hands, ladies and gentlemen, on that wheel when he comes off of 2. That arrow is going to grab here in these old ARCA cars, and he has to make that split-second decision to just correct that wheel just enough to keep it straight. And a little bit of an overcorrection, Andre, can send that thing sideways.
It absolutely can, and that is the fine line they're walking. You do have to counter steer quite a bit with this car, especially as the tires get worse and worse. You're going to find yourself turning right to go left occasionally. But as you said, Will, if you just get a little bit too much overcorrection, you're going to get that snap oversteer, and you're going to find yourself head on into the outside wall, which is never ideal. So it's a tough car to drive. It really is. And, you know, oh man, Cameron Stone sliding into 2nd place. He said, "This is my position. Not sure if I'm clear, but I'm going to clear myself." And it worked out. No harm, no foul, as Burden and Lowry are now watching that zombie tachometer car try to maybe get around Bryson Hicksonball. And I do kind of want to point out, you may not recognize some of these sponsors and paint schemes, as they are not real. But they are still throwbacks in a way. Zombie Tachometer and Before It Breaks Auto Parts, if any of the viewers at home ever played the old EA NASCAR games like 2005, 2004, those were the sponsors you could get in the career mode that were just made up by the devs. And, you know, Bryson and I were kind of NASCAR game nerds. So Bryson went through the effort of actually going through and creating paint schemes for pretty much every fictional sponsor from those games. And so a few of those guys running them tonight. But man, oh man, I just can't get over that wheel. I'm not sure if that's a Max Pappas wheel, but that is, you know, it's got to be actually pretty helpful with this kind of car, Will, because the bigger the wheel, the smaller your inputs really are. You know what I mean? It kind of numbs your inputs, which I would imagine is pretty good for this.
Exactly. You know, we rode along with Stone, who's now our race leader on the track. Is going to overtake Hicksonball for that race lead coming off of 4. You saw it out of Stone, has to work that wheel more, a lot more hand movement, a lot more steering. You know, like you said, turn left to turn right. Whereas we rode along with Burden, you're not seeing the same. He a lot more calm on the wheel, a lot more straight. And I think with a bigger wheel, you can kind of be a little bit more relaxed on it and let the wheel just kind of do its own thing, work that car around the track as we're coming around 3 and 4 right now here on lap 14. So Stone as our leader. You see Burton right there in the 3rd spot. He hasn't drifted too far back from that position. Even though he has some speed behind him, he's doing a great job of holding on to that position.
Now, Will, at the start of the broadcast, you mentioned these guys are going to be getting about 30 laps out of these tires. And uh, that is completely accurate. Some of the viewers at home may think, man, that sounds like not that much for a set of tires. You know, they're used to seeing these next-gen cars go 40, 50 laps on a set. But I want to point out some lap times to just kind of give an example of how bad these tires are already degrading. Bryson Hixenbaugh, his fast lap was on lap 2. It was a 31.521. His last time by on lap 30 or on lap 14 was a 32.4. That time at the line, it was a 32.5. So we have already lost a second on this set of tires.
Yeah, and that was quick. We're about halfway into that window, and we're already losing it just a little bit. You see right now heading down, the backs are still single file. And one thing I've also noted, Andre, is that the field's starting to fan out just a little bit. You know, we saw, some 3 wide, some inside racing there. When we first had that drop of the green flag. Now it's a lot more single file, almost just following the guy in front of you as we come across that start-finish line down to corner number 1 here on lap 17. It's just a lot more, as I mentioned, taking those mental notes, figuring out how the car is going to work for you, figuring out how to get around the track, because 17 laps in, out of 195, you have a long way to go before you can really start pushing this thing along.
And on your screen, looks like Robert Anderson just made a move on Dylan Winters. Dylan sent it in a little bit deep there, trying to get back to the rear bumper, but I think, just from the looks of it, I think Dylan may have worn those tires out a little bit too quick, because he was pretty quick early on. He was contending for 4th place, but he's slowly been slipping through the running order down to 8th now, although he does have a little bit of breathing room back to Jason S. Taylor in the 41, about 2 seconds between them, not quite 2 seconds. And Benefiel, who started 14th, has gained a few positions. He's up to 10th, and he is currently breathing down the neck of Taylor. So those two are kind of fixing to be in a battle pretty soon here. Casey Carrington involved in that lap 1 incident there. He is 13 seconds back, so about half a lap. The nice thing, I would say, in his saving grace, Will, is that we're not really seeing these guys too close together. Like you said, we're getting a bit strung out. So the draft isn't really speeding these guys up any. It's not really aiding them. So by being by himself, Casey Carrington's not really losing anything in terms of pace. He can run as fast on his own as these guys can up here. So it's not like a plate track where if you fall too far back, you're just going to keep slipping back. It is a mile and a half, different style of car, and he is in it. But we do have a DNF. Nelson in the 07 is in the pits. Not entirely sure what happened there. Okay, so he did smack the wall. We did have the replay there. But yeah, just a little bit of damage there. And sometimes, Will, these cars are pretty sturdy, but you get to hit the wrong place and bend the wrong part, and that may be your day done.
Yeah, it looked like he did ride the wall there for a long time. And these cars aren't built to race like Ross Chastain. You start hitting that wall, start dragging it along the wall. That's really going to make insurmountable damage to these cars. And with no fast repairs here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, these things can take a beating, as you mentioned, Andre. You can beat and bang them around. It's the older style body. You can really take damage and keep trucking. Those lap times will basically stay the same. But if you start sliding that wall, making contact, and it looked like, looking at that replay, it was a quick replay there, but it looked like he did slide down the wall a good portion. And at that point, there's too much damage. You might as well park that thing and head to the garage.
Ironic that the video game move works better in real life than in the video game. But man, this battle for the lead, Bryson Hixenbaugh, Cameron Stone, they've just been going back and forth, trading the position. Cam is going to enter right on that rear spoiler, and that's something that you're not going to see a lot of in next gen. But back in the Gen 4, you could take the air off somebody's spoiler and get him a little bit unsettled going to the corner. You never even had to touch him. And I think that's exactly what Cam's trying to do when he enters right on that spoiler. He's trying to get that car to move up the track a little bit. He's trying to press X to intimidate, so to speak. So far, Bryson Hixenbaugh has not buckled under pressure, although he does get a little sideways. Man, oh man, I think at this point we're just trying to see who makes a bobble.
And you see right now, Stone to the inside here on corner number 1. See if he makes this move right now. He has some momentum coming around the corner, coming off a 2 to this back stretch. Oh my goodness, that was tight. As you saw Hixenbaugh throw that block off the exit of 2, Hixenbaugh's going to run the high side lane here. That's going to kill some momentum off of Stone there, heading down into 3 and 4. Doesn't look like he has the run here, Andre, as we come around 4 to the front stretch.
And when they had that moment where they missed each other by an inch or less, you saw that smile on the webcam. I think Cam knows what he's doing. He's toying with Bryson at this point. He's just trying to put the fear into him and see if he can force him into a mistake here. But both these guys, I think, are having a blast. Anytime you can have an old-fashioned battle here at Atlanta, man, oh man, just watching these guys on track, it's kind of reminiscent of a different, wrong era of car, but Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon had a fantastic battle here at Atlanta, and looked a little bit like this.
Yeah, definitely. And you talk about Jeff Gordon there. He's got a poster of the old school Rainbow Warrior 24 machine right behind him there. He's got the Pepsi logos up in that racing room as well. So he's throwing it back to the days of, Pepsi Cola being on that Jeff Gordon machine. You don't really see a Pepsi machine on the track anymore when Coke took over, but Jeff was against the grain there, rocking Pepsi during the Coca-Cola family days. Now here tonight, Stone's trying to make that 24 proud. As you mentioned, Andre, it doesn't look like he is playing with him just a little bit. He's going to run this inside lane. He's going to check up on the outside of the corner. Looks like he knows what window to take, which lane to take. But right now, he's just content with rocking in second.
Yeah, I think he's pretty happy where he is. As we kind of mentioned on the webcam, he was pretty much all smiles there. So having some fun, happy with where he is. He's not letting the leader get away from him. And I think second and even third are close enough right now that when this pit sequence does get underway, they're close enough that they could maybe gain a position or two just from getting a better pit entry, pit exit, or just a better pit stop time in general. So, no need to be impatient now. They can just kind of ride where they're at. If they have the chance to make the pass, of course, they're going to take it. But look at this cluster of cars. We've got Mason Lowry to the outside of Robert Anderson, and you got Van de Sant right behind them trying to figure out, okay, who am I going to go with? Who am I going to follow? Which one of these guys is going to prevail? Trying to put himself in that catbird seat. But look at this, the outside line getting a really good run out of the corner, which is what you're going to expect. But then coming through 3 and 4, the number 11 of Anderson's just going to have a little bit more center speed. And that's what's going to allow him to pull out just that little bit. Believe it or not, Van de Sant is a player here. He is actually kind of making a difference because in being behind these guys, he's kind of giving them the draft and pushing them. So he could kind of try to keep these guys side by side if he really wanted to for his own benefit. But the 56 is going to concede that position. Looks like quite intentionally. He's going to move to the top of the track, let the 11 go. Now Van de Sant thinking about trying to get by. And who's that behind him but Adam Benefiel, who's picked up 2 more positions. Last time we checked in on him, he was in P10 right behind Jason Taylor and Dylan Winters, but he's got around both of them. Now the 10th place belongs to Bryce Hoffman, who started, I believe, dead last, so he's up 5 positions in that number 21 machine. He painted that car himself, and I gotta say that is a good-looking car. And Carlos had to point out this paint scheme right here. Well, he mentioned it in the chat. I didn't even know what it was, but that 53 apparently is from one of the Herbie movies. I've never seen them, but that's an interesting choice for a throwback.
No, I think I saw the very, very first one, Herbie Fully Loaded. I don't remember the Cheetos car being in there, but big fan of... Oh, the villain. There we go. See, I had no clue there, Andre. I'm a big fan of Cheetos, and I can't say that I remember that car being in that movie.
Yeah, I like I said, I haven't seen it, but that's the nice thing about throwback races. Sometimes people just choose really kind of out there references to run on their car, and it kind of, I don't know, it makes it a little bit more fun. We got a car down on the apron. I believe that's Dylan Winters. I'm not sure if he's going to be trying to bring it down pit road, maybe taking a very early entry, or if he made a mistake that put him down there. But that's going to cost him. Actually, he already pitted. He's down 2 laps.
Yeah, we're right in that window, too, that 30-lap window. Now, Andre, I got 2 questions. I got Flamin' Hot or Original, Crunchy or Puffs?
I'm going to have to go with the Puffs. And
okay, all right.
I'm going to have to go with just the original, mainly just because, heartburn is an issue. So we'll go with the puffed original.
Good choice. I'm a crunchy original guy myself. Every now and then I'll dip in the Flamin' Hot pool just to take that risk. As you mentioned, heartburn, you got to get the Tums ready for that. But, you can't go wrong with any kind of Cheetos, that's for sure.
I think you're going to hate me for this, but I've always been more of a Clancy's Cheese Puffs kind of guy.
Okay. As we watch this 53 take the track here. A good run so far out of Hicksonball right now. No, this is McRae in that 53. Just taking his time around the track. As you mentioned, this field is pretty fanned out. I think once we start to see these pit stops take place, maybe some caution flags will fly here once everybody starts to bunch back up. We're going to start to see a little bit more racing taking place. Right now it's just very calm on the racetrack.
Now, if you look at these lap times, Burden has been pretty much all green. He's been faster than Stone, faster than Hicksenbaugh. And I think this goes back to what we pointed out earlier, where when you look at the wheel inputs between our leaders and between Burden here, Burden was a lot smoother on the wheel, as near contact there. You can see he's not really sawing on that thing. Very gentle on the wheel, and that's going to conserve tires in the long run. And I think that's where a lot of this late race speed is coming from, as still more green on the timing and scoring. That time it's only 200s, but it is still green. And I think that might have lit a fire under Cameron Stone here, Will, because once Cam got that bump, he kind of pulled away, closed the gap to the leader, and now we got 3 cars under a blanket for the lead. But the question is, who's going to give first? Who is going to be the first of these 3 to make their way down pit road, as Dylan Winters did not too long ago?
Yeah, it doesn't look like any of them are going to head down pit road now as we're coming off of corner number 4. We still have a battle for the lead sort of brewing up here as we come across this front stretch here. Make it lap 35 is in the books down in the corner number 1. And you'll see right now they're really pressing the issue. Andre, we thought the pit window was going to be around lap 30 or so, but right now we're on 35. So these drivers might be just pushing it just a little bit to see how far they can take it here in this first run. That way they can start to calculate other pit stops later on down this race.
When it could be, too, that this race has been green the entire time, and maybe they weren't expecting that. But the longer this race goes green, I think the less viable coming in too early is. Again, you can go 30 laps further on a fuel tank than you can comfortably on a set of tires. So with this thing staying green, the guy who comes in on lap 50 is going to be better off at the end of the race than the guy who comes down on lap 30 and makes an extra pit stop by the time it's all said and done. So with this staying green, maybe they're just trying to cut a pit stop out of the equation and stay out as long as they can. And I think as long as the majority of them do stay out, then they're not really losing anything. Nobody's getting a massive undercut. And plus, when you look at these leaders, 1, 2, and 3 under a blanket, I think they might just be having too much fun to come down pit road.
This is true. This is absolutely true. And we've seen it here. Almost like a respectful racing going on right now. You saw Burden there on the inside of Stone. See if he takes his position here off of 2. And he doesn't. Just keeps right there in the 3rd spot. Although you saw Stone get a little loose there. Might have had some contact there with the top side wall. As you just see, these guys are sort of respecting each other's position on the racetrack. They're not really trying to press anything. They're not trying to make contact with one another. They're just content where they are right now on lap 37. But with the speed that these 3 guys have shown here at the top of the grid, I think these might be the 3 drivers to watch out for here at the end of this race.
I agree, and also one thing to point out, as Carlos has drawn the arrows on screen, thank you. We are now to the point where we have lost 2 full seconds from the fast lap on this set of tires. So on lap 15, they were a second slower. Here on lap 37, last time by, they were 2 seconds slower, which is absolutely massive. That is a huge difference, as we do have a little bit of lap traffic, it looks like, for the leaders. Bryson Hicksenbaugh coming up on the number 14 of Dylan Winters. Actually, no, Dylan Winters unlapped himself. He does have fresher tires, so he actually passed them. I apologize, had that backwards. But look at this move right here. Lucas Hoitzman, the number 8 Oreos machine. Man, oh man, he has been saving something with that set of tires, Will, because he has gained a couple seconds to even get into this battle in the first place, let alone to get around that 0.6, which we saw so much speed out of.
I think it might have been a junior car. I think Junior may have rocked that Oreo machine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, that's a junior scheme. I think Tony drove a Ritz car. I believe. I think that's what Carlos is remembering, is the Ritz car that Tony drove. But yeah, the Oreos was always a Dale. I think I got a diecast of that sitting behind me.
Me too. I was thinking the same thing. I have a diecast in my closet of this 8 machine.
Carlos is showing us something. Oh no! We stand corrected. Tony did drive an Oreos car. Okay.
Look at that. That is okay. We are proven wrong there. Tony Stewart did rock this. It was a 4 instead of an 8. All right, we stand corrected there.
It was a different paint scheme. It was just the same sponsor. but yes, he is right. He is right. Oh! Cameron Stone into the outside wall. Lucas Hoitzma is up to P2. that could be disastrous depending on how much damage there's to the right side of that 57 machine. Robert Anderson trying to take advantage of that mistake down low. But it looks like we saw it pretty close on the corner cam there. Don't see too much damage on the 57, so he's just going to have to
No.
regroup. And here we go, Will. The pit sequence is officially underway. The first of our leaders down pit road. It is the 06. And he could definitely gain a lot with this move. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the first time the 57 has made contact there with the topside wall. I saw it not too long ago heading down the backstretch there. Saw him brush the wall. You see him brushing it just again right there. I don't know if something he's losing, maybe the tires in that car, because he's starting to bounce off the wall just a little bit there, Andre. You see how close he is running to that topside wall? It's about the highest on the racetrack of any line here as we cross this line here on lap 43, thinking down into corner number 1. The 57 just needs to maybe go down and get some fresh set of tires on that thing. Figured it out once again, because you see how high he is on the racetrack here, Andre.
Yeah, and you see that difference in the shading of the pavement. You've got that sort of darker area where the rubber's laid down, then you've got that gray where the marbles are. And I think when the tires are worn, the strategy is to sort of straddle that line, maybe put 2 tires over and 2 tires in the grip. But man, it is so easy at 180 miles an hour to make a mistake and just get a little bit too high, miss your mark. And then, as we talked about earlier, you're just sliding to the outside wall, and there's nothing you can do once that car starts to go. Turning the wheel further is just going to make it go even more straight because you're skating the tires, and even lifting generally is not going to be enough. So you
No.
got to be careful. You cannot afford that mistake. Lucas Hoytsma in P2 ahead of all of this has gotten within 0.2 of a second of Bryson Hicksonbaugh. But does this kind of maybe force Bryson's hand? Does he feel like maybe he has to pit because Hoytsma is gaining so much? We'll have to wait and see as Cameron Stone continuing to ride in 4th place currently. Man, the storyline I'm interested in, though, Will, is definitely Burden in the 06. I think he is going to gain a ton when this is all said and done.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about too. We must be sharing the same brain wavelengths over here, because I was thinking about Burden heading down very, very early. Yes, right now, folks, here in the short run, it's not going to be the most beneficial thing to do. You're going to run there on the tail end of this pack. You're not going to have the same speed as some of these guys. As right now, we have this look like, I'm trying to see who this is. This is Stone heading down pit road there in that 57. But for Burden, though, once all these other guys start to head down pit road, it's going to take them a little while to get those tires hot. And for Burden, that's going to equal maybe very, very much success here, getting top of the grid. The only flip side of that, Andre, here is on the long run, Burden's going to have to pit way before these guys that are going to push the envelope a little bit.
Cameron Stone coming in to get 4 fresh tires, some fuel, and a hit off the vape, apparently, as he's going to make his way out of pit road. But I'll tell you what, I was a little bit worried. I know Cam, and I thought he was about to pick up a can of Coors Light here on the broadcast, which I think may go against 3 Wide TV's policies. But luckily, Cam, he was a little bit smarter than that. Although I can confirm, Carlos, if you remember a few weeks ago in the 100% Cup Series, I theorized that it wasn't water that Cam was drinking out of that thermos. And I was right. He told me after the race he had a nice, cool Sterling at his side during that event. So that was some good times, I'm sure. But anyhow, he's going to make his way out of pit road, and Benefiel as well as Lowry coming down pit road. So the 2 Napa machines coming down to get their cars serviced. Benefiel, actually, before he came down pit road, climbed all the way to 5th. So definitely the biggest mover of the race so far.
Yeah, definitely here. And as you mentioned, Andre, we're giving away a lot of
We've a little bit of technical difficulty there. You got a copy, Will? He is in the waiting room. We'll give him just 1 second to see if he comes back up.
Yeah, we got a copy here. No, I was saying is that we're giving away a lot of awards here tonight. If you want to run the folks at home through the list, because we're giving away a lot of money in this race.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull it up once again. So we do obviously have that pole award, which has already been handed out, but we also have the Stinking Up the Race Award, sponsored by Knee High Septic. That's going to be $5 to the most laps led. Zombie Tachometer's Fastest Lap Award is going to be $5 once again. Before It Breaks Auto Parts, Keeping It Clean Award, that's going to be the highest finishing driver that has 0x. So a few drivers, I think, are already out of that contention. We've seen a few drivers scrape the wall. And of course, we do have our first place, second place, third place, fourth place, and fifth place award, starting at 25 and going down by $5 for each position, respectively. And then there is the mystery award, which I happen to know what it is, but I'm not going to say anything. We don't want to spoil it for any of the drivers that maybe are racing with the broadcast pulled up. I know Adam tends to race with the broadcast turned on. Not exactly sure how he does that, but hey, Adam. It looks like Lucas Hoytsma in the lead currently, although Cameron Stone trying to unlap himself, as we do have the remainder of our leaders down pit road. We've got the number 63, Bryce Nixonbaugh, Robert Anderson in the 11, coming down pit road right behind him. I got to say, I admire the consistency out of Anderson. I've commentated races in other leagues with Anderson in the past, and he always runs that tide ride, no matter what car, no matter what series, no matter what league, it's always the tide ride with him. But we do have a copy, I think. Will, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So the technical difficulties kind of seem to be plaguing us, but we're good now.
Yeah, we see right now that 8 machine is heading down pit road. You see he's going to get that thing all hooked up here. And it looks like everybody is just about headed down pit road here as he misses his box just a little bit. Not going to be the biggest mistake as he's going to get that thing up on the jack and get those tires changed. But I think, Andre, that's going to conclude our green flag pit stops here on lap 53.
That it will, and actually, no, we do have a few that have stayed out. Carrington has not pit, nor has Jason Taylor or Terrell in the number 91. So those three just waiting it out. But when they do pit, it appears it'll be at Burden that'll be inheriting the lead, if just barely. He does have Cameron Stone not too far behind by about a second and a half. But man, oh man, we said that Burden was going to gain a lot through that short pit, and he absolutely did. The question is, we know how fast the tires wear. How big of a detriment do you think that 4 or 5 lap older tires is going to be later on?
I think right now, I think he's okay. I think, we're looking at Burden right there in the 4th position. Carrington has a little bit of older tires as well. But for Burden, this is going to put him in a great spot. He's going to be in open air. There's not going to be a lot of people he has to race against up there. As you see, the closest person behind him is going to be a full like 7 to 8 seconds. So he's going to have enough time, Andre, to really keep those tires clean, not press them too hard, find a line that's gentle on those tires, if you will. And I think by the time somebody creeps up to him there for that top of the grid position, I think it's going to be time for another set of pit stops.
I think you're right. And I think that long run speed that he had in the first stint only gave him more confidence to take that short stop strategy, because he knows that, yeah, the older tires are going to be kind of bad later on, but he's pretty confident, I think, that he can make up for it with his own conservation and all that. So real quick, now that the pit sequence is pretty much done with the exception of our top 3, I want to do something that we would normally never do on a broadcast, but as it is an exhibition race, and Adam did give us express permission, I'm going to pull Adam down to the booth. Give me 1 second. Mr. Benefield, you got a copy?
Yo, hey.
Well, you gave me permission to pull you in under green. I'm taking you up on it. How's the car feeling?
She's pretty good. Just trying to get used to it. First laps for in the practice this week. A little tight the first run, so we made a adjustment there at the pit stop. Trying to free it up on entry. But overall, not too bad.
Now, you've gained a lot of positions so far. You started towards the back. You're up to 6th currently. You were 5th before the pit sequence. How's the actual passing out there? How's the overtaking? Is it a little bit difficult to make these passes, or is the track kind of wide enough and the car has enough horsepower that you can kind of muscle your way through these guys?
Do you know who the hell you're talking to right now? It ain't difficult for me to do nothing. I just blow the doors off, keep rolling.
That's a good point. That's a good point. How about the tire wear out there? I mean, we saw a lot of drivers losing about a second within 15 seconds. Is there anything you're doing out there to try and conserve those tires, or are you just going flat out?
Well, I tried saving there on that first run and thinking that Cam and Bryson were going to do Cam and Bryson things and come back to me, but somehow they drove the hell out of it and didn't really fall back. It was the very end of the run before I started making good ground on them. So I'm gonna try pushing a little bit harder here. See if that helps. I don't really know. Like I'm no horsepower. This thing is really confusing. I don't know what it wants.
All right. Well, we're gonna let you get to it. You do have Van de Sant kind of breathing down your neck right now, so we'll let you focus on driving. But Adam, go win this damn thing.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I got him back in his chat there. But I like it. The ever entertaining Adam Benefiel. You know, you pull him in for an interview, you know it's going to be great. But we asked him, "Hey, is it hard to pass out there?" And well, you heard what he said. So he's pretty confident out there.
Oh yeah, and you love to hear it out of a driver too, knowing that what they have, how they're gonna race this race here tonight. As you see, he's starting to touch the apron just a little bit on the inside lane. But he says he just wants to blow the doors off the other competitors here. He's gonna cross this line here on lap 61, make it 62 as we dig down to corner number 1. As still Terrell is our race leader with Burden right there in that second spot. And you see Carrington, who we had to pass to get up there. We spoke about Carrington had that early issue in this race. Had about the oldest tires on the racetrack now. Is now down in the 5th position. So, Andre, I think we're really getting a visualization of what happens to old tires here on this track.
Oh yeah, we're getting a pretty good example of that because these drivers really staggered their pit stops so much. I mean, some guys came in really early, some guys are really, really sticking it out here as far as they can, lap 62 without pitting. So really showing on full display what Atlanta can do to these cars on the long run. But I think at this point, our top 2 is pretty much just holding out for a caution, but they can't hold out much longer. You got to think the fuel tanks are running pretty dry, and if they don't get a caution, which is not looking very likely, I might add, this long run strategy may prove to be pretty disastrous here, Will, because they've probably lost almost a lap staying out as long as they have. I mean, you got to think 1 second per lap. They've been out 30 laps longer than some of these guys, and it is about a 30-second lap. Not looking good for these front runners unless they can get a caution.
No, and as we were talking there, Carrington is headed down pit road there in that 38 machine. She's going to open the door for a lot of these other guys to catch up there. You see Benefield right up there. Stone's already back up inside the top 3. Terrell is right there in second. Now Stone is overtaken right there for the second spot on the racetrack. You see Burden still leading the way here. If we could jump to that battle as we're looking at Terrell is down pit road here. So looks like that may have concluded our pit stops here. Of course, Burden is rocking some little bit of older tires as he headed down early there in that green flag window to the 81 machine. That's a Doritos machine. A lot of junk food on the track here tonight, Andre. I'm loving it here. He's got the Tide Pods car. Well, not Tide Pod. That's Tide before there was pods. We got the Napa Auto Parts car, Doritos car, Winn-Dixie car out on the track. Geez, I feel like I'm back in 2007.
Well, I gotta say, my
Yes,
mic is
sir.
hot. I gotta say this. Well, you can't just say we got a lot of cars with junk foods and then immediately go, we got the Tide Pods car. You can't do that, Will.
No, the days before Tide Pod, that's for sure.
The days before people were dumb enough to eat Tide Pods, too.
This is true. As you see, he's going to make a move to the inside right here. That's the 11 machine. He's going to try right now to better his spot inside the top 5. Anderson's going to go to the inside of Sand right now on the exit of 4. He's going to be able to clear, and he does here, crossing the strike. Down to corner number 1. He advances up into the 4th position.
And while he's advancing his position, Cameron Stone is gaining tenths of a second every single corner to our leader, Burden, in the 06. Now, Burden obviously pitted earlier than most of our leaders. That got him out to a pretty good lead, but it would appear that the tire conservation methods aren't working out quite yet because Cameron Stone is a little bit quicker, and he is now under a second back. Adam Benefiel has breached the podium in the meantime, and he has gotten about 5.6 seconds back from our leader, but Anderson looking to make this move and take that podium away from him down low. Tide Ride is going to take third place on that white line. And again, I really love this lane choice that we're seeing. Well, we're not seeing every single driver just running the same line, running very robotically, and just kind of following in each other's tire tracks. Everybody kind of has a different idea of where they want to be. Bryson's been dedicated to the high side. Robert Anderson's been dedicated to the low line. And drivers like Cameron Stone, I feel like Cam was kind of dedicated more towards the middle. He wasn't quite down on the line. He wasn't up at the wall, just running that mid groove and very comfortable with it.
Yeah, as you look at Mr. Anderson on the track right here in this 11 machine, throwing it back to the Matrix, a movie that dominated the span of time. I think the first Matrix movie came out in 2001. Right before that, the second one came around either 2005, 2006. Right in this 2007 range we're rocking here. So Mr. Anderson is definitely looking like that character, the way he is shape-shifting up the grid, now up into third. Now he's got Stone. You don't see him in the picture just yet. Has some ground to make up right now. As you see, Burden as now seeing Stone right behind him. And you're going to look at that driver cam right there. The calmness he has on his face, Andre, doesn't look like he's nervous at all. He knows what he has in that 57 machine as we dig down to corner number 3.
Yeah, he's looking pretty calm for a guy who's been leading the race. You know, sometimes the nerves get to you, but despite the fact that there's a few drivers catching up, Burden has been pretty calm. Cameron Stone, now this is kind of a difference from what we saw earlier in the race. When he was battling with Bryson, it was all smiles. Right now, I'm seeing some determination on that face. I'm seeing a little bit of concentration as he's trying to figure out what's the quickest way around this 06. He knows he's got the fresher tires. He knows that car's a little bit faster right now, but he also is fully aware that advantage he has is going to fade. There's going to be a point where you're going to hit that tire wear plateau where even though the 06 came down pit road first, your tires and his tires will equalize and nobody will have the advantage. So he wants to make this pass and take the lead before that happens while the car is still good. And it looks like he may be able to do it. Couldn't quite get clear going into turn 1, but he is clear halfway through the turn. Shooting out towards the back stretch, it is going to be the number 57 to the point. And Burden is going to drop back into second. Now, question is, can Burden do what he did on this first stint and maybe try to get back up there and capitalize on the long run? Because that's exactly what we saw before. Well, we saw Burden fall back. He started up front, fell back, and then by the end of the stint, he was right back there racing for the lead.
Yeah, and I think right now as you cross the strike here on lap 72, digging down into corner number 1. For Burden there on those older tires, you really have to stay in the path of still in the 57. There's not much draft to these old school ARCA cars, but you have to try to get as much as that arrow coming off that front car as you can. If you don't keep them in your reach, that 57 will check out on those new tires as you're watching this battle right now. Anderson's now battling just a little bit on the racetrack. I think that might be a lapped car that just went by him there on the racetrack. Looks like, is that a Grizzly paint scheme there on the car in front of him there? A lot of cool paint schemes here tonight as they're watching 11 machine of Anderson still in the third spot. I think this is a lapped car in between him and Burden.
So the 41 is a Kodiak car, which
there we go.
I believe is the slightly wrong era. That was more of a 90s car, I believe, rather than a mid-2000s. But I'll let it slide anytime we can get a retro scheme like that. And the Kodiak car did always look good. It don't matter what era body you slap that paint scheme on, it always looked pretty dang good.
Oh yeah, yes sir. As you see, he is that's Taylor there in that 41. Now in the 11th position, a lap down here, but he's our first car a lap down, so a lot of time to get that lap back and to work your way up the grid as well in that 41. But here we go down the backstretch right now. We're looking at Hotzma right there in the 4th position. Has Hexenballer right there as well. This is a battle to stay inside the top 5 as now these drivers have their sights set on Anderson in that 11. As we come off of corner number 4 to this front stretch, going to tick it down to lap 75, digging down to corner number 1.
And it is a 3-car battle. Anderson's had a very interesting race. We focused on him a lot so far tonight, and it's for good reason. He's just one of these drivers who has not really been able to escape the other drivers. He's either closing in on somebody or somebody's closing in on him. He's been involved in battles pretty much all night long and hasn't really had a moment to breathe. A few of these guys, they've had their moments where they're just kind of off in their own little world. They got a good gap to the car behind and the car in front, but not Anderson. He's had a he's had a handful, we'll say, as he is really starting to slip back to the clutches of Hoitzma and the number 63 of Hixenbaugh. Bryson still really dedicated to that high line up against the safer barrier. again, really one of the only drivers that is running that line for the entire run. We saw Cameron Stone move to the high side once the tires got old and a little bit worn out. But here at this point in the run, he's still running the low to mid groove, as is a lot of other drivers. Not Bryson. He is loving that high line, feels very comfortable there. We'll see if it works out in the long run. But this 3-car group, Will, is actually closing in on Burden for second place. So we might be looking at a 4-car battle for second.
Yeah, a lot of speed here in this 3-car group. I just saw those lap times on top of the screen there for watching along with us here on 3 Wide TV, led by Anderson in that 11. Just ran one of the fastest lap times we've had all night. Gonna get a big push out of that 8 of Hotzma right there. And you see those lap times, folks, if you were watching along with us here on 3 Wide TV. Look at Stone ran at 33.5 there at the top of the grid. You know, the next driver right there is pretty fast as well. But for these 3 cars, this is almost 1, 2, 3 as far as lap times go. And if they could just get by Burden here, who has older tires, if you remember, folks at home, he headed down very, very early here in this green flag window here as we come off of corner number 2 down the backstretch. They might be able to chase down Stone there for the lead.
Yeah, they definitely could. They've got a little ways to go in this stint before they think about pitting again. So I wouldn't count it out entirely. These guys are only about a second and a half, 2 seconds back from Cameron Stone. And when you consider that they have slightly fresher tires, with the exception of Burden, that's not an insurmountable gap by any means. Now, look at this. Looks like Robert Anderson is going to go 2 and then 3 wide through turn 1. The number 8 trying to squeeze his way through the middle. He's going to think better of it and lift. But Anderson is the benefactor through all that. He is going to take third place away from that 0-6. And now Hoytsma is going to follow along Bryson up on that high line. Now we got some lap cars behind that machine that we're looking at to the bottom of Bryson. That is not for position, but the car behind him, Alex Van de Sant, that is for position. So very close battles all around here as these guys still follow Cameron Stone. And I think the thing here, Will, is that they got to get this sorted out. They got to get themselves single file. They got to kind of work together, because the more they race, the more they battle each other, the more they're letting Cameron Stone get away from them. They're wasting time when they do this kind of thing. So if they want to get up there and get the lead, maybe a little bit of cooperation is going to be needed.
Yeah, I could see that there. But for these guys that are racing in this group, you see the 81 of Terrell a lap down. Is not giving up position on the racetrack there in a lapped car. So it doesn't matter what position you're at, if you're a lap down, if you're on the lead lap. All these guys are battling it out here on lap 81. Oh, and you see Hotzma is going to scrape the wall a couple times coming off of corner number 2. We've seen that a few times here tonight, Andre. Something about the exit of 2. You ride that high line almost like a surfer. You're riding that high side of the wave, and sometimes you can't get off the wave fast enough to recover. And in this case, he's going to brush the wall hard. You saw Stone do it as well there earlier in this race, brush the wall a couple times. You see Hotzma right now starting to fight that car. He's going to ride this middle groove instead of going high side here. Maybe getting a little nervous about that high side now.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And it is always turn 2. That has always been a trouble spot here at Atlanta, especially on iRacing. The radius of the corner just squares off so much on exit. You don't really have a sweeping arc out. And it was tough even before the days of the safer barrier. Then they went and tacked on this safer barrier, which removed about a foot or 2 of the racing surface even further. So you really got to be aware of that when you come to the exit of turn 2. You want to make sure you keep that car at least a little low. You don't want to pinch it too much, but you definitely don't want to let it slide up and get into the wall like we saw Hoytsma do earlier on. And another thing with a lot of these guys is, a lot of these guys are coming from a stock car league that's running the next gen car, and the ARCA car is a different width, and it's not that big of a difference. But when you're used to driving the same car day in and day out, then you got this car that's a bit of a different width. You don't exactly have a perfect feel for where your right front fender and your right rear fender are. And sometimes you think you're clear, you think, okay, I'm going to be fine. And then you see that little 2X pop up on your screen, and you know that, no, I was not fine.
No, not at all. As we're starting to see some other drivers now head down pit road in the second stage of green flag pit stops. So you see Burden down pit road right now, a lap down. You see Benefield down pit road there in that 15 machine as well. So it's 2 dominoes have fallen here. Wait another about 10 to 12 laps. We'll start to see some more leaders head down. cruising through this green flag run once again. No cautions on the racetrack here tonight yet, Andre, here as we come off of the corner number 2, that is down the backstretch. Been a pretty clean race here so far.
Yeah, no issues thus far. Obviously, the number 38 of Carrington had that issue on lap 1, but no caution was called. Cameron Stone had a bit of a close moment when he kind of unhooked his car from the wall and it got a little sideways. But so far, no cautions. Everything's been clean and green. And I believe Dylan Winters also made his way down pit road with Burden and Benefiel. So 3 cars so far have come down pit road. And I gotta wonder if these guys are gonna maybe change up their strategy. Obviously, Burden is not changing his strategy. He was dedicated to the short stints that he was running in the beginning of the race. But if you're not Burden, if you're not one of these guys who gained a lot through that strategy, do you take what you learned in the first stint, try to apply it to this, and maybe try something different?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, Andre. You know, I've seen it across many different leagues, many different styles of cars. If you can calculate that early stop just right, and you got the numbers perfect, you got everything figured out just right, you could be the car that stays out on the last set of pit stops. So imagine that everybody else has to head down pit road. You're the only car left out on the track. So you're going to lead the field to the drop of the green flag, depending on how many laps are left there. Maybe it's a green-white checker. Maybe it's 4 or 5 laps to go. Or vice versa with no caution flag, everybody else is heading down pit road. As you got clean sailing, you can lap the field, you can put a lot of cars, a big gap between you and the rest of the field, and you can cruise to victory if you can time that early pit stop just right.
Yeah, timing is key, and if you can get it right, the rewards are massive. Now look at this. We have Cameron Stone coming across the mic saying that he's going to be pitting, I believe. I believe that was his voice that I just heard. Let's see. Yep, he's going to woe it up, get down to that apron, and the 57 will be getting that car service. And I think he timed that pretty well, Will. Oh, boy, hold on to her. Hopefully there's no speeding penalty there, but he was a little bit sideways, had the tires locked up. But as I was saying, right before he came in, Anderson had just caught him alongside Hixenbaugh and Hoytsma. So he was at risk of losing the lead. And I think maybe coming down pit road before that could happen was the play. But look at that. Huge moment on the top of your screen on the 3Y TV multicam. Bryson gets loose out of turn 2, shoots down to the apron. He's able to recover it and get back on the track. But that's interesting, Will, because that's the exact opposite of what we've seen. We've seen so many drivers get tight out of that turn, never loose like that.
No, and I think now we're starting to see a little bit more tire wear happening to these cars. We saw it there on the tail end of the first green flag run before these drivers head down pit road. The older these tires get, the more slick it seems that makes these race cars. You start to see that tail end wiggle just a little bit. You start to see some more drivers making contact with that high side wall. You talked about Andre, a little bit more tight. But in this instance, where the tires are getting more slick, the more wear on them, these drivers are still trying to hit the same lines they did earlier in this run. And you see right now, they're starting to fight it a little bit. They're going way, way down on the racetrack. Most of these corners, you see the 11 of Anderson's going to try to get down to that yellow line. The 8 of Hoetzma as well. Not seeing a lot of mid-range high lines anymore. It's a lot more tire conservative. You see Hoetzma coming off with 2, gets a little wiggle right there. It's going to open the door right there for the 15 to get by. And right now, the 15 is just going to cruise by these guys here trying to get some laps back.
And what was it Benefiel said about blowing the doors off of him? Well, he's definitely trying, as he is going to cross the stripe there. And like you said, try to make up some time here and get this pit sequence sorted out. Cameron Stone still 1 lap down. A lot of drivers holding out and holding out strong on this long run. Anderson trying to maintain the lead here. Lucas Hoytsma 2nd place. Bryson Hixenbaugh in 3rd. And I'm amazed by how close Bryson still is to these 2 cars. I mean, he was so sideways. He was waving to the infield fans. Got the thing corrected. Yeah. Got back on the track, and he only lost a few tenths of a second. That is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think everybody whipped out their Kodak or Walgreens throwaways. They tried to snap some pictures, or their digital cameras. They tried to get out those photos here of that car going sideways. Because, folks, we're throwing it back to 2007 here. Not every phone had a camera on it. If your phone did have a camera on it, it didn't look too good. So you bust out your digital camera or camcorder, try to get some footage of this race here tonight. It wasn't the same like it is now. You just bust out your smartphone, take some awesome high-resolution pictures. back in the day, it was hard to get racing pictures, but right now, you want to get all the pictures you can of Stone, who is now back on the lead lap. We'll see how much speed he can get here as we're on lap 94, as we're coming around quarters number 1 and 2 to the backstretch.
It is going to be so hard to predict which strategy is going to come out on top here because it is really split. I mean, we got a lot of drivers on the short stints, a lot of drivers trying to stick it out for the long runs. And I mean, I don't think the short stint is going to necessarily add an additional pit stop unless you are going up against like Casey Carrington and some of these other guys who stayed out to lap 60. They may be able to eliminate a stop. But for most of the leaders, the 5-10 lap differences between their stops is not really going to change the amount of times that they need to come down pit road, but it will definitely affect their pace throughout the race. And I don't know which one's going to be better. But right now, it seems like whatever Cameron Stone's doing, whatever Burden's doing, it's working out pretty well because those two drivers have led the majority of the laps. And that's another thing to mention. When Cam Stone came down pit road as early as he did, he conceded the lead to Anderson. And as such, he stopped leading laps, which means he's not adding to his total, which there is a reward for the most laps led, a monetary reward that Anderson is currently chipping away at right now. And I got to wonder if maybe that is also playing into the incentive for these guys to stay out as long as possible. They're just trying to chip away at that, lead some laps, and maybe walk away with some extra cash, even if they don't win.
Yeah, and you touched on it, Andre, to start this broadcast off. There's a lot of different ways to get your money back or even to make some money here tonight. We gave away the entry fee to the pole sitter in this race. So a lot of things, though, Andre, if you start to calculate, if you start on the pole, you lead the most laps here tonight. Maybe you can't be a hard charger starting off the pole, but you lead the most laps, you get the pole, and you win the race. You could be talking about some serious money here at the end of this race.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to get the majority of the rewards and you win the race, you're going to be sitting pretty. We'll say that's some beer money at least. So we'll see what the awards end up shaking out as. But here we go on your screen, the number 15, Adam Benefiel, trying to work his way around the high line, but Cameron Stone just booking it down low. He's going to make short work of him as we do have another leader down pit road. Lucas Hoitzma is going to pit from second, and he is going to try to get that car service. Now, Bryce Hoffman's in fourth. Now, I want to keep an eye on Bryce and see when he pits because he actually texted me before the green flag. He said, if you get the chance, look at my pit board. So we'll see if we can maybe get that on the broadcast. I'm a little bit nervous if we even should show it on the broadcast knowing him, but he pointed it out. So we'll see when he pits. But the number 8 gets a clean stop as Robert Anderson, Mr. Anderson, as you say, working his way down to his pit stall and going to concede the lead to, it would appear, Bryce Hoffman if he does not pit. We'll have to wait and see what Bryce does. The 96, Alex Vandesant, is going to work his way down. And yeah, Bryce is going to inherit the lead in that number 21. So the 11 right side jack goes up. 96 going to work his way by him. But I would say this pit sequence really got hot at the end here, Will.
Yeah, it did here as we're going to cross this line here next time by, make it lap 100. We have crossed the century mark here in the Nostalgia 300, throwing it back to 2007 here. Andre, I think 2007 I was in, leader down pit road here as we're going to watch here. I have a complete reshuffle of the grid here as we're going to watch our leader head down here. And Andre, what do you think these drivers are focusing on here? Do you think any kind of fuel is going to go into these race cars, or is it just mainly a tire stop?
Oh, yeah, right now it's going to be 4 tires and fuel. Can't quite see his pit board. I just see a 41. I think that's the Kodiak car's pit board, so can't quite make that out. If viewers at home can, I know the stream I'm looking at from Carlos is a little pixelated, but there's the pit board that he pointed out. But as to your question, like I said, definitely it's going to be 4 tires and fuel right now. Just because we have so much of the racing left, there's no point in not taking that fuel, not taking those tires. But if we were to get some cautions later on in the race and some drivers maybe further back think that they could undercut somebody by taking less fuel, is a big moment for the 81 into the outside wall. He's going to get a little bit loose, slider down to the apron, and then back up onto the track right in front of Adam Benefiel and Bryson Hixenbaugh. That was a good save, but unfortunately, I think that car may be a little bit dinged up as he gets loose again coming out of the corner. We'll take a look at the 3-wide TV replay. He's following Carrington.
Oof.
And just a little bit overconfident in the arc into the corner. It It's a silly mistake, but I would be lying if I said I had never done that before, because I have. You come out of the quad oval, and man, sometimes that outside wall sneaks up on you.
Now, as we got a shot of the 81 machine, the Doritos machine, another question, Andre. What's your favorite type of Doritos?
I think I gotta go with either the chili flavored ones or the Cool Ranch.
Yep, I think I'm with you there. The sweet chili ones. I tried some fiery ones the other day, too spicy. I think the chili ones are right in the mark there, and the Cool Ranch ones. I don't even think in 2007 we had the chili ones. I think it was just straight nacho cheese and Cool Ranch. So only two flavors of Doritos back then. That's how far we're throwing this race back.
Here's another Dorito-related fun fact for you. So over in Japan, and actually in most foreign countries, the Cool Ranch Doritos are actually called Cool American, because for some reason, ranch has just been, I guess, associated with us. We like to put ranch on everything, so they literally just call it Cool American. That's a real thing. You can look it up. Doritos Fun Facts brought to you by 3Y TV.
That's true, and we're throwing it back to 2007 here in the Nostalgia 300. This was the year the Boston Red Sox won the World Series with their comeback against the New York Yankees there in the American League Series. The Colts won the Super Bowl. And wouldn't you believe it, Andre, for all those hockey fans that are watching along with us here on 3Y TV, the Mighty Ducks won the Stanley Cup back in 2007. And folks were able to maybe take some pictures or call somebody at those games because the iPhone was first introduced in 2007. So a lot of huge things happened in 2007. As such, this race is throwing it back to the good old days here, the early 2000s.
I remember when the iPod Touch first came out, and I got one, and I was just in awe that I had this, what essentially equated to a computer in my pocket. And then they went and made it a phone too, and that was just, it's crazy how different things are now versus back then. But yeah, 2007, first time the iPhone was introduced, and it definitely changed things. I like your point about back in the day, people walked around with their digital cameras. I remember that. I remember going to Watkins Glen in like 2005, 2004, and everybody had these big bulky cameras on straps around their neck. And me and my dad, we would just camp out outside of the media center trying to meet drivers, and it was just hordes of people with their digital cameras and their camcorders. And nowadays, people just stand around with their phone in their hand. It's a different looking world.
It is definitely. You had to worry about the battery life on those things back in the day because you only had probably about an hour or two to take the pictures you wanted to. So if you went to a race event or any kind of sporting event, you had to make sure you split your picture taking in half, maybe at the beginning, at the very end, to make sure you get the pictures you wanted. But talking about great pictures here tonight, coming off of corner number 2, we have this battle now is basically settled in here after that second wave of green flag pit stops. We have Stone leading the way. Burns back up there in the second spot. Benefield right there in third. Hexenbaugh in fourth. And Hotzma in that number 8 Oreo machine in 5th position.
So this is interesting, looking at this running order with Burden in second. Burden did pit before Stone, and he did not cycle out in front of him. So that advantage of trying to undercut them and get those fast laps didn't really work out quite as well as it did in the first stint. I got to wonder if maybe he didn't lose some time on pit road, or maybe he got caught up in some traffic. But whatever Cam did, he did it right. I think he timed that just perfectly. As soon as Hixenbaugh and Hoytsma caught up to him with Anderson, he said, all right, come down pit road, and it was able to cycle him back out to the lead. Now he's collecting a few more laps to add to the bag to maybe get the most laps led award. I would assume that at the moment, Cameron is probably leading that tally with most laps led, but I don't think we have the actual data on that live, so we're just kind of guesstimating at this point. Burden is 2.4 seconds back. It is a big gap back to Adam Benefield in third, 6.2 seconds behind our leader, and then another second behind Benefield. You're going to find that 63, so we're starting to get really spread out, and I got to say, well, I am surprised that it took this long. We're on lap 110. I think this is the first time that we've not had the leaders battling the entire race.
No, great point there, Andre. Throughout this race, to the early stages, we at least had a 3-4 car battle at the top. Before that second wave of green flag pit stops, we saw about 4 cars charging up there to the lead. But just the way Stone has just taken everything into calculation here tonight, got his pit stops down just right, he's hitting his lines perfectly. You're not seeing really any wiggle. He did brush the wall very, very early in this race, but that was just barely briefly. And I think it's happened to a lot of guys here tonight. You just tap that top side wall just in the slightest. But for Stone, it's not doing anything to that car. He's got about a 2.5 second lead there. Almost 3 seconds on Burden in second. Looks like we do have a battle on the racetrack for, it looks like that's Hotzma trying to get around Hexenball for third.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to see if he can find an opening here. Both these drivers last time by actually got around Adam Benefiel, who's starting to feel the ill effects of that tire wear. He had a lot of speed. He was up on the podium. Now he's about to bleed another position to Robert Anderson, who's trying to get around him. But right here, Lucas Hoitzma just waiting for the bobble. And I'm kind of fascinated by this. It looks like Lucas has actually forced Bryson's hand. Bryson's moved down the track quite a bit. He's running the bottom, trying to take that lane away from Lucas, which he's not done the whole race. He's been really dedicated to the high line, but now Lucas has put him in a situation where he can't run that preferred lane, because if he does, the number 8's going to sail it in deep. He's going to get down to the bottom like he might right here. The first time the 63 takes the high line and the 8 does take the advantage. Question is, are they going to come out of the corner?
Oof.
Even the 63 gets a bit of a run here. And you can see just creeping into frame back of your screen, that's Robert Anderson. He's loving these guys battling, because the more they do this, the closer he's going to get.
Yeah, he's going to creep up just like Mr. Anderson there in those Matrix movies. All of a sudden, he's going to transform into another race car. He's going to be right in the mix. And the more Hotzma and Hexenball go at it here, it looks like Hotzma's going to try to the inside here once again. But you see here, coming off the corner, Andre, the way Hotzma rides that inside lane, you see a little, just the slightest of a slide on the exit of the corner, which gives Hexenball just enough speed there on the exit coming around 3 and 4 right now, as Hotzma's going to try the inside lane once again. But watch here on the exit of the corner, you see Hotzma with just the slightest, yeah, almost tapped that top side wall there, the way he's sliding out of the exit of these corners.
He is wheeling that thing. He's giving it all that it can take, but it's still not quite enough to complete this pass. He gets so close. He has the advantage right there. But then that car starts coming up the track. He's got no choice but to lift off the throttle a little bit. If he doesn't, he's going to slide into the competition, as it looks like we've got a few cars down pit road, the number 81 and the 38. Both cars, no stranger to a little bit of adversity. But look at this. Both drivers trying to work their way around Burden. And whew, man, oh man, that was about as close as you can get. Unfortunately for Lucas, he wasn't able to capitalize like he thought he was, and he's right back where he was, down on the low line, trying to complete this pass, but just no luck as of yet. The 81 blending onto the track. He's not going to be a factor in this battle. He has fresher tires, so he should pull away from these guys. But I got to ask, Will, what do you think it's going to take for Lucas to make this pass? Because he's made that lunge numerous times now, and it just hasn't gone anywhere.
I think right now for Lucas there, as you saw him getting double stuff there on that pass going around, Burden was in the middle of these two, was able to get outside. But the tap on your question there, I think he's going to have to go to the high side with Hexenball and try to make it pass on the stretch, because you see right now he's going to go to the low side all the way around the corner, but just always on the exit. He's going to either slide, that tail end's going to get loose on him. He's not going to have the same momentum as Hexenball, even though he's going to come very, very close here on the corners. It's just not enough speed there on exit. So maybe trying the high side lane there with Hexenball, maybe making a pass on the exit of the corner, maybe down the backstretch. I think that's what's going to get it done. If he keeps trying this inside lane, not only is the door going to keep getting shut on him, but he's going to put more wear on those tires.
Yeah, definitely got to think about the difference in tire wear for sure. Running those different lanes is going to affect the cars very differently. And I think within the next 10 or 15 laps, we'll see exactly which lane was preferable, as Anderson now only about 1 second behind these guys. Keeping in tune with the food questions, I gotta ask, Will, what flavor Oreos you rocking?
Ooh, that is, I'm not gonna lie, I got one of those special edition Pokemon packs in the freezer that I haven't opened yet, so that's still chilling in there. Man, I gotta say, you know, I'm an OG guy. I'll rock with the original, just single stuffed, just regular black and white Oreos, dip in a little bit of a milk. For me, it's gonna be almond milk nowadays, but a little bit of almond milk, a little bit of the old school OG Oreo cookies. That's just my flavor. The thing about it, Andre, is you leave it in that milk just long enough to where it gets soggy. That's the way to go.
I'm gonna go with the mint. I'm
Okay.
a sucker for the mint Oreos. I don't know why. They're just they're too good. They're too good. And going to the Pokemon Oreos, I got a bit of a tale about that. So I bought a few packs of those just for the lulz. My buddy's a big Pokemon fan. I kind of got out of it after Gen 3, but um, I had gotten a couple of the Mew Oreos that had Mew printed on the front, and I ate them. You know, I didn't really think much of it. And my buddy's like, "You know, those are selling for like $40 a pop on eBay." I'm like,
Oh yeah.
"Oh, oh no, guess I shouldn't have eaten them." Yeah.
No. Yeah, I haven't opened mine yet. I'm a sucker for that, so they'll chill in the freezer until somebody gets hungry one day and rips those packs open. But right now, Mr. Anderson's now trying to the outside of Hostma there on that 8 on the entry of 3. He's gonna try to ride that high side lane, follow Hexenball around. It looks like he might have this run coming off the corner, so you can ride that. And you see Hostma with a big tail slide there, looking like a little Moto X action there, a little Metal Militia days to throw it back to 2007. A little bit of a tail whip there on the exit of 4.
What was it Cameron Steele used to say all the time? Hold on to your hats and glasses. Well, I think Lucas better be holding on to his hats and glasses because, man, oh man, he drove the wheels off that car, and I mean that in the most literal sense. I think battling with Bryson is coming back to bite him. I think he burned the tires off that thing trying to make that pass, whereas Anderson and Bryson, they were taking it a little bit easier. They didn't push their cars quite as hard, and now, late into this stint, that speed is still with them, whereas the number 8's really starting to struggle.
Yeah, now looking here at this grid, looking at Stones down pit road. I didn't see that there as we were watching this battle ensue there for this podium or top 5 position. You see Benefield's a lap down. You see McRae down there, Laurie down there as well. Carrington still down there. You see Burden now is a lap down. Stone's a lap down. So really, we have about 6 cars on the lead lap right now with Hoffman in the 6th position, about 22 seconds off the pace. So we might be seeing this second wave or this third wave of pit stops here, Andre, if I'm not mistaken, because looking at Stone there in that 57, this is an early pit stop for the 57 machine.
Yeah, that is a pretty early stop. I gotta wonder if that was just because his second stop was a shorter stint than his first, and it worked out really well. So maybe he's trying to maybe take that strategy and push it a little bit further, come down even sooner in the hopes that it works out even better. But I don't know. I think coming down too soon is definitely a thing. I think coming down too soon can hurt you. We saw that with Burden, who really did come down pit road earlier than anybody else in that first stint, and he lost quite a bit of time doing it. So we'll see how it plays out, but Anderson's going to slot up right in front of the number 8 with Bryce Nixonbaugh in front, and they are just kind of following that number 57 that has the fresher tire, so he's going to continue to pull away. But we kind of talked about how Anderson has had a very eventful race. He's never had a breather, so to speak, and here we go again, battling with the number 63, and he's going to try to dive it down low. And I bet you Lucas is watching this and he's saying, well, good luck, because I couldn't do it.
No, as you watch it right now, we have got a 3-car battle on the racetrack, and you see Hotsma still just whipping that thing around, almost like a rally cross car out here. And then Nostalgia 300, he's just trying to maintain that car around the track, Andre. But you got to think, though, the way that car is just whipping from underneath him here, would it be wise to maybe head down pit road, maybe get some tires on that thing, get that thing a little bit more tighter on the racetrack? Because right now, not only is he slipping and sliding around the track, it doesn't seem like he can hold pace now with Anderson and Hexenbaugh there at the top.
Yeah, he is really holding that top line. And, iRacing, the top line does tend to wear tires out a little bit quicker, but for whatever reason, that doesn't seem to be hurting Bryson too much. We're not seeing that excessive wear that you normally see from the top line, and that extra speed that he's carrying out of the corner is just really helping him with this game of defense that he's playing. Anderson and Hoytsma could definitely get alongside him, maybe even get the nose on him in the middle of the corner. As you see, Anderson's going to try it again, but get to that straightaway, the 11 has to lift, and the 63 just rockets back out in front as he's done every single time. And I almost wonder if maybe Anderson and Hoytsma should try to go to the top with Bryson, maybe go even higher than what he's running. Bryson running the middle this time. Now, this is interesting because he's not going to get quite as big of a run off. Anderson's going to be able to stay at the quarter panel, opts not to go up inside draft, and then falls back to about half a car length. He's going to try again, entering up high, arcing it down low. Not going to get quite as close this time as the bottom of your 3 wide TV multicam. The Kodiak car, Jason S. Taylor, getting some tires and fuel in that machine, and he is going to be out and away. So this pit sequence definitely different than what we saw earlier, Will. With Cam coming down so early and the 41 even coming down a little bit earlier than last time, things are starting to get shaken up. But look at this through the quad oval here. Robert Anderson is going to stay side by side. This may be enough through 1 and 2. Can he do it? As look at this, Burden on fresh tires, sticks it 3 wide. Now that's not for position, but that is to unlap himself. And he said, I know you guys are battling for the lead and all, but see ya.
Yeah, he said, sit back here, watch Spider-Man 3 or watch Departed, 2 movies that came out in 2007. Y'all just chill back here. I'm just going to split the gap and let y'all do your thing up here. As now Anderson's our race leader here across the strike here on lap 131. Down to corner number 1. It is Mr. Anderson leading the way there in that Tide machine. As Z Hexenball is still trying that top side lane there a little bit, but it's going to open the door for Hotzma there. Coming off of 2, see if he has that run. Nope, as he follows right back behind Hexenball as we head down to corner number 3.
Now you mentioned Spider-Man 3. I gotta call out Bryson Hixenbaugh on this. So one day we were talking about the Spider-Man movies, and he said that when he was younger he had Spider-Man 3 on the PSP, back when they would actually make like movies that you could pop into the PSP. And I was like, why Spider-Man 3 out of all 3 of them specifically? And he's like, well, because that's the best one. And it was at that moment that I had to reconsider who I chose as my friends. Because I don't think I've ever heard anybody say Spider-Man 3 was the best one.
I can't even think of the villains
I got a bombshell.
Spider-Man 3.
I got a bombshell confession. Topher Grace, best casting choice. I wholeheartedly agree.
Oh, man. Killing me.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the action here from Atlanta. As you see, Hexenball is still trying to hold off Holtzman there in that 8 machine, as it looks like we have another lap car trying to get their lap back. That is the 15 of Benefield. It's going to go to the inside of Hexenball here down to corner number 3. Now we're seeing the speed, Andre, of these cars that have fresh tires are just zooming past these leaders to get their laps back. Keep an eye out on that, folks. As you see the 57 of Stones now back in the mix inside the top 5. You see Burden up there as well. Benefield just got his lap back. See Carrington still a lap down, but you see what these fresh tires do to these cars. It's almost like you got a rocket underneath them.
Yeah, when you have that fresh tire advantage, it is no small thing. I mean, being 2 seconds a lap faster, the closing rate through the corners is absurd. And I know sometimes from a third-person perspective, it doesn't really do it justice, but when you're in the car and you are closing seconds at a time, it almost makes it difficult to get around them just because the difference in pace is so great that you're having to try to work your... It's like you're playing pole position. If you ever played pole position back on the SNES, it was, just trying to work your way around the traffic and work your way around the track, and it's kind of what you're doing when you're that much faster than the field. But of course, that advantage does go away eventually. As look at this, Robert Anderson was able to get around Bryson, but Bryson said, okay, I'm going to try to take this back. He goes down to the bottom, and the roles are reversed. We saw the 63 using that high line the whole race, and he got past, and now he's forced to go down to the bottom and try to do what Anderson did before him. And the number 8 pushing the 11 through the quad oval, giving him a little bit of draft, trying to help him out, see if they can't both train their way around this before it breaks Auto Parts car. But so far, Bryson doing a good job trying to stick with him. Again, out of the corner, that outside lane is always going to get the better run. Now, the question is, does Lucas go full Mad Lad here? Does he try to send it 3 wide on the outside if he gets a little too impatient? I'd say with a pit stop coming up and approaching shortly, now would not be the time to be impatient, but who knows?
And you see Hotzman's going to try to the inside here on the corner. He's not being patient at all, as he's going to clear Mr. Anderson coming around corner number 2 to this backstretch. Show he's not going to hold momentum as Mr. Anderson's out to the inside in that 11 machine. He's going to have a big run coming off of 2 down into 3. It's still the 11 now leading the way, but you see another big run getting a little bit of a push from Hexenball from the back. Gotta remember, folks, these aero packages on these old school ARCA cars are very different. You have to come very close to push somebody along. Looks like he did get a push from Hexenball as we're still side by side down into corner number 1. This is a race for the lead before our second round of pit stops that'll come up just shortly. But right now, we have quite the battle coming off of 2.
It looks like Hoytsma may get the advantage here on the outside. He might take it from Anderson, but I got to give credit to Anderson. When Hoytsma passed him the first time, it was a beautiful crossover from the 11 to get back out front and stay attention for it. Unfortunately, number 8 just did a slightly better job conserving his tires than these other guys, as he just has a bit more pace through the corner. And it is going to be a lap led for Hoytsma, as behind him, Hixenbaugh and Anderson are going to try to battle for position here. Anderson back to the bottom. That seems to be where he's comfortable. And Bryson back to his preferred lane up top. Meanwhile, you got Lucas just kind of running the middle. I like that. Lucas, he runs the middle. I feel like he's doing that because he's trying to figure out, okay, if one of these guys gets a run, I got to be able to block high or low. The best way to do that is just to be in the middle.
Yeah, and you see right now about a 3-car battle still taking place here as we cross this line here. Lap 140 heading down into corner number 1. And Andre, I got some more 2007 facts for you. 2007 was the last year the NASCAR Cup Series was known as the Nextel Cup Series. Jimmy Johnson won his second championship in a row, with Jeff Gordon finishing right behind him there. And the Chevy Monte Carlo was the last year that car ran. They switched over to the Impala in 2008. So a few little NASCAR tidbits there that happened in 2007.
And if the viewers at home want to feel old, like us up in the booth, I don't think Nextel even exists as a company anymore.
No, it doesn't.
I'm pretty sure they're gone.
Andre, if you remember the little chirp that you could make.
Our producer kind of pointed something out there. What'd you say there, Carlos? They merged with Sprint. Okay. Whatever became of Altel? I think they're gone too, right? I feel like Altel might have merged with somebody, and I don't know who. Maybe it was AT&T. I think that was what. Then is AT&T even around? Man, oh man, so many sponsors from these old cars that they're not there anymore. Okay, acquired by Verizon, says Carlos. So, yeah, a lot of sponsors that just are not around anymore that I can remember watching go around the track. That's a bit disheartening. Another fact, if the viewers at home want to feel old, with Kurt Busch retiring from full-time competition at the end of this year, Kurt Busch was the last driver to ever share a track with Dale Earnhardt Sr., and now he is retired. So there is nobody on the track next year full-time that raced with Dale Sr. Fun fact. As Lucas Hoytsma continues to lead the way in that Dale Jr. Oreos machine. But Bryson is not falling back, Will. He's actually gained a little bit through this last set of corners, and it looks like he's going to poke his nose down low, see what he can do.
Yeah, down to corner number 3. Hexenball is going to try to the inside of Hoytsma right now. Looks like the inside track is the track to go to right now as we come off of corner number 4. It's going to fall back just a little bit. Not going to have that run that he's had here all night long. But here tonight, though, the Oreo machine of Hoytsma and that number 8 still rocking it just a little bit with a little bit of a wiggle there. We're going to send Hexenball to the top side of the track here on 1 and 2. It's all right. He likes that lane there on the top side. See if he can get a run here. Looks like Anderson, though, is going to get the biggest run in the 11 as we head down to corner number 3.
Now, this strategy sequence is shaking out pretty interesting. I'm keeping an eye on Cameron Stone. He's about 12.3 seconds back from our leaders. He pitted quite some time ago, and Hoytsma, Hixenbaugh, and Anderson, they have just been on this long stint. So, man, it's hard to figure out where these guys are going to cycle out, but either way, these guys are making that long run work. I mean, their pace has been pretty solid. We saw some of the drivers that took the short run actually be able to unlap themselves and get back up to the front earlier at the very beginning of the race, and that's not happened for Stone. He is still a ways back from these guys. Alex Van de Sant in front of Stone in the 96. I believe he also pitted quite a while ago. Bryson Hixenbaugh looking low, looking high, trying to find a way around the number 8. Anderson just kind of sitting in that catbird seat, trying to see what these guys are going to do. And you got to think they're learning a lot about their competition. How do these guys race? What line do they prefer? What does it take to make these passes? And you figure out a lot when you battle this close for as long as these guys have been racing. Because, I mean, how long, Will, have these guys been in a three-car train. 30, 40 laps?
Yeah, this has really been the race right here, folks. We apologize for not highlighting other drivers on the track, but you look at the fourth position is about 7 seconds off. Stone's about looking at about 10 seconds, if I'm seeing that correctly. You see Burden down there. You know, a lot of these drivers have headed down pit road. They're rocking on a fresh set of tires. They got a lot of speed underneath them. We saw that when they got their laps back, but still on the racetrack, it's just really a three-car battle, as it looks like one of our leaders did head down pit road there, as Mr. Anderson is down pit road in that number 11.
Anderson down pit road, and we just saw Dylan Winters. He's 3 laps down. He made his way around Adam Benefiel on those fresh tires, so he's going to be pretty quick compared to a lot of this traffic, having that advantage of the fresh rubber underneath him. There goes Anderson. That was a really good stop for the 11. I don't have a stopwatch on me, but that seemed like a pretty quick pit stop by his team. 15.1 is not bad at all. That is blazing fast stuff. He may actually, in addition to having the advantage of taking the short stop, he may just cycle out in front of these guys based on how fast that stop was. Here comes Bryce Hoffman in the 21. He was, I believe, in 6th before he dove down pit road. Adam Benefiel worked his way around him. And there goes Bryson Nixonbaugh, leaving just Hoytsma of our leaders of that 3-car train that was kind of racing for so long. It is now just Hoytsma in that number 8 as everybody else is working their way through. And here comes Cameron Stone, who is going to pass these guys once they come down to pit. But here's the thing, Will. Cam pitted so long ago that
Stone missed his box there just a little bit. Sorry to interrupt you there, Andre. It looked like he missed his box just a tad bit there in that 57.
No, Bryson did not miss the stall. I believe he was all right. The number 8 coming down pit road. So with this, only Van de Sant stands between Stone and the lead. But as I was saying, Stone pitted so long ago. He took such a short stint compared to the extremely long run that these guys took that Stone's going to have to pit soon anyways. So, you know, it's not like he's going to be able to stay out much longer and extend a gap. I would say we're going to see Stone come back down pit road within a handful of laps. And meanwhile, I'm just looking at the lap count here. We've got a lot of these guys hitting on lap 150. We got to make it to lap 195. So, you know, we're looking at about 45 laps. That is well within the pit window. They're good to the end. Cam is not. He has to stop no matter what. So this could be a disaster strategy for that 57.
Yeah, if I was the 57, I would maybe think about heading down here in the next lap or two just to make sure you keep pace, because the longer you stay out, it gives these other drivers the opportunity to warm up these tires, get that speed going again. And once they catch up to this 57, they're going to go zooming past them. We saw it there just a little while ago with the lap cars zooming past the leaders. The leaders are the leaders for a reason. We saw the difference what new tires make. And for Stone in that 57, you know, the more and more he's up there by himself, trying to hit those lines, more laps he runs, and the more laps that tick down here, the Nostalgia 300 here live on 3Y TV, it's going to make it harder and harder for him to scrape out a good finish here at the end.
Mason Lowry involved in a bit of a battle here, not for position, as the 41 of Jason Taylor was kind of on his bumper there, but then he scraped the wall, gave up some time, and here comes Hixenbaugh. Look at those fresh tires. We talked about the closing rate, how sometimes it feels like you're just playing pole position, weaving through all the cars. Well, that's exactly what Bryson just did. 2 overtakes in a matter of a single set of turns, and that's going to put him up into 5th. And now he's got about 23 seconds back to Stone, who again still has to pit. I believe Burden also needs to make his way down pit road, and possibly Benefiel. I don't remember exactly what lap Benefiel came down, but I know it was some time ago, so I'm not sure that he'd be good at the end. So if we look at this realistically, I believe Anderson would be the driver that is going to inherit the lead once these 3 drivers take their pit stop. And I don't think that's a surprise. Anderson timed that pit stop really well, and we pointed it out, but his team did a phenomenal job getting those 4 tires on the ground as quick as possible for that 15-1 stop.
Yeah, perfect run for that tired machine, as he's in a great spot right there in the 4th spot. As you look at some of the drivers that are still out on the track, you see Benefield up there in the 3rd position. Burden, who's been, you know, kind of in and out of the picture here tonight. Andre at the top of the grid, a lap down, different strategies, just trying different things out here tonight right there in the 2nd position. We just spoke about Stone there in the 57. He's going to have a tough hill to climb. He wants to finish at the top of the grid, the spot that he's in now with about 40 laps to go here in the Nostalgia 300. And we're watching some of these battles take place, and Andre, it's probably going to take us a few laps, probably about 5 to 7 laps to have everything really shuffle out to see what this clearer picture is going to be here at the end. This HD picture, if you will, because back in 2007, HD TVs were just starting to hit the scene, as well the flat screens, if you remember correctly. It's not what we have today with the Ultra HD, 1080p, all that. We had barely the introduction of HDMI back in 2007. So to throw it back there, to throw it back to this race here tonight, Andre, I can't wait to see this picture get a little bit more clear here with only about 40 laps to go.
Yeah, I remember when my dad upgraded from a CRT television to a giant projector flat screen. If anybody watching remembers the projector TVs, those were way bigger than they had any business being. And the picture quality was that of a potato, but we thought it was great at the time. We loved it. And man, oh man, I remember when we sold that projector TV, it was years later. And getting that thing out of the house and into the dude's truck who bought it was quite an ordeal. But then, things progressed. We went to plasma, and it wasn't LCD flat screens like we have now. It was plasma, which I got a bit of a bone to pick with the industry. I think plasma was better. It had less ghosting. It was a cleaner image, and it didn't have burn-in. Plasma didn't do the burn-in thing. LCD does, but that's just it doesn't last.
True.
But it is a better looking picture. We're going for quality over quantity. We're not here for a long time, Carlos. We're here for a good time.
As we talk about the good old days of 2007 here, where we're taking a look at Mr. Anderson there, and that number 11 has Hicksonball right behind him. And guys, what made me feel really old yesterday at work, I had to explain to a younger coworker what an Ethernet cable is. Because back in the day, that's how we were able to play online games with Ethernet cables. You had to go straight from your modem. If you had Right, but back in the day, you had dial-up, and you had to get little adapters for the back of your PS2 or your Xbox back in the day.
And here comes Cameron Stone making his final pit stop. But yeah, just going back to what you're saying there, Will, nothing like trying to load a web page and then it just completely cancels out because your mother picked up the telephone. I remember that.
Right, or you had to get somebody off their AIM account so that you make a phone call.
And Cameron Stone hydrating under the pit stop, and it's actually water this time. It's proud of you, Cam. It's not an ice cold Sterling. It's some water, which that's how you know he's serious about this. He wants to win this when he's not knocking back a few Sterlings. He's actually hydrating and focusing here. Coming out of pit road, we'll see where he cycles through. It's going to be Burden inheriting the lead for the moment, and a caution comes out.
Oh. Whoa.
Cameron Stone was a mere 30 feet away from being a lap down when that caution came out, but by some chance he stays on the lead lap. Wow, what a shakeup to the end of this race. If you're just joining us here on 3Y TV, it's been a green flag race. The majority, oh man, you see the 15 just gonna slide around the apron as he make contact. Just a barely of a nose touch there on the top side wall, but it definitely constituted a caution. Our first caution of the night here, and it comes around lap 160, Andre. What a run for us here at Atlanta. Yeah, I'm a little surprised to see a yellow flag as Adam Benefield just gets onto that white paint and gets a little bit sideways and unfortunately slides it up into that outside wall. I'm starting to think the 15 car might just be cursed for the Nostalgia 300 because I ran that car last year and I somehow managed to DNF myself under caution. I reached over to hit something on my keyboard, bumped the steering wheel, and turned myself into the wall. And now Adam Benefield doing some initial D moves, listening to some Eurobeat.
Oh, initial D. Oh, man, you just got me excited.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite shows of all time. My sister and I actually have like a tradition where every Christmas we watch the movie that was supposed to be the third season that takes place around Christmas time. That's a great show. But man, oh man, this is going to be interesting because Cameron Stone just pitted. He doesn't have to pit. He can stay out. He's got fresh tires. He didn't put a single lap on those tires. So he's starting in the lead, and he's going to have fresh tires. Burden, Hicksonball, everybody behind him will also have fresh tires. This has essentially just completely evened the playing field. It's a clean reset.
Reset of this race now. We were not fanned out. We don't have a 3-car battle. We don't have different tires on different cars. Of course, there was a few cars that stayed out on the racetrack. But right now, for the majority of the field, this is a complete reset, restart of the race here. Andre, we're looking at maybe around 32, 33 laps to go when this green flag drops. We're going to have quite the run here at Atlanta to close out the Nostalgia 300.
Oh yeah, things definitely got exciting at the right time. We were starting to get a little bit spread out, and no sooner than that occurred, we got this caution that's got everybody bunched back up. So I think we've learned a few things. Number one, never count out a yellow flag, no matter how long the green flag run was. Number two, don't try to do the Takumi Fujiwara gutter turn here at Atlanta. That's not going to work. Adam Benefield spun out trying to do the gutter turn. And number three, Cam Stone has a golden horseshoe. Because if that had happened 10 seconds later, he's starting at the back of the field right now.
Right. And folks at home, if you don't know what me and Andre are referencing, back in 2007, even some places today, there's what's known as cabinet arcade games that you can actually play. And Initial D is actually, I got to play it for the first time a couple weeks ago. That's probably one of the most fun racing games I ever played in an arcade. And now when you say the word arcade, you think of a casino. But for folks like me and Andre, an arcade is actually a place that you go and play video games. So Initial D is actually really, really cool racing game, Japanese style. You can drift, you can go sideways. I mean, it's such a fun game. I went against somebody, Andre, that was a level 32 and I was a level 0. So that didn't pan out too well, but it's still a fun game nonetheless.
Oh yeah, definitely true to the anime and a very fun game. I remember a few years back, me and a couple of my buddies were at an arcade, and they had one of the Initial D machines. And for reference, for the viewers at home, being in a wheelchair, I'm not working the pedals by any means. So I told my buddy, I'm like, you do the pedals, I'll steer. Somehow, we wound up topping the leaderboard for that machine. I don't know how we did it, but we did. So that was a fun time. But man, oh man, this restart, I believe the lights are going to go off next time by. We're going to double them up. There goes the Cheeto. Nope, lights are off this time as the Cheetos machine is... Oh, I think we're not doing double file. We're doing the old double file. Yeah. Yeah, we're doing the old double file where the lap cars start on the bottom. And yeah, he's going to start right alongside. But man, oh man, that's interesting. I forgot about that. We're using the old style rules. Sir. I just wish that iRacing had the option to race back to the line like we used to. That would be something.
And as we see, we're going to come off of corner number 3 and 4 right now. See if the pace lights are off. They are off. We're going to go green flag racing here once again. It's time to crank that Soldier Boy just like it is 2007. Once again, as we come off of 4, we're going to go green flag racing once again in the Nostalgia 300.
And the pace car is off. It's going to be a bit of a late start in the Geico restart zone. And it is a pair of Napa cars up front trying to get their cars maybe out of harm's way. The 15 maybe holding up the 57 just a little bit as the 06 trying to capitalize on that bit of a checkup. The accordion effect playing to his favor. Burden is going to get around Anderson, but can he get around 57? Let's find out. Coming through the corner, we got lap cars up high. We got the battle for the lead down low. Cameron Stone playing some defense here, trying to hold off the 06, but this is going to be a close battle. I'm not sure I could call a winner here because that 06, he's got a lot of speed. We've seen him lead some laps in this race. Cameron Stone obviously also having a ton of speed as the 15 has to check up a little bit there for the Cheetos machine and got a little bit sideways having to check up that much. But man, this lap traffic has definitely played into this battle for the lead, and yet didn't really separate them. It is still bumper to bumper.
As it's tight right there on the apex of 3 and 4, as now Burden's right back on the back bumper of Stone. Going to cross this line here and make it 167 in the books here at Nostalgia 300 down at the corner, number 1. Stone in that 57 trying to close the door on Bird in that 06 as we're coming around corner number 2 to this backstretch. As Andre, you touched on it, a lot of lap traffic in the way. It's not taken away from the racing on the track, though, because we've seen these lap cars with a lot of speed, though, so they've been able to keep up with this pace. As right now, as we come around 3 and 4, still Stone is our race leader in that 57.
And it looks like the 15 loose again. He's going to come back up into the field. Oh, no. Was anybody caught up in that? Did he manage to escape hitting anybody?
I think he may have pulled off some matrix moves there and avoided the rest of the field. No, as our second caution of the night is out here at Atlanta.
And it is McRae in the 53 that got caught up in that. I knew he had to tag somebody. When I seen him in the corner of the screen going back up the track, I figured somebody was going for a ride. Looks like he got a little bit of help off the bumper of the 63 that got him around. But no, he didn't actually hit anybody. It was just evasive maneuvers out of the 38 and the 53 that got them sideways. And realistically, if the 53 had just stayed out of the grass, we could have gone caution-free for that. But let's take a closer look at this, Will. I don't know. Yeah, was there contact? That's hard to call.
Oof. As you see him come back up onto the track there, that 15 machine. That's tough to call there, Andre. It's man. But as I mentioned to start this broadcast off, I think we're seeing now as this race is ticking down, we're going to watch another view of it here. See Hicksonball right there at 63. May have just tapped him just a little bit on that back fender. Yeah, a little bit of contact there, Andre.
A little bit of a love tap, and it doesn't take much. That exit at turn 4, the car feels so weightless sometimes coming out of that corner, and it just takes the air off the spoiler, gets you sent around, and unfortunately for Adam, that is the second spin within the last 10 or so laps, so definitely not having this race close out the way that he was expecting, and he started out so strong. He worked his way from 14th all the way up to 5th just through raw pace alone. Looked like he might have had one of the cars to, but unfortunately just kind of got marred back in traffic, some strategy calls that didn't work out the way he wanted to, and now that caution trapping him a lap down as he was the cause. It's not going too well for the 15, 2 years running in the Nostalgia 300, which is, as a Michael Waltrip fan, pretty painful to see. But for the guys up front, I think they're hating this more than we are, because this just took a pretty straightforward race and it turned it on its head.
Yeah, as we're... Go ahead, Carlos.
All right, Carlos is recommending that we pull in Adam, so let's see if I can find him. Adam, it's Andre up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
Before we go any further, I just want to say that it was Carlos's idea to pull you in. I know you're probably not in much of a interview mood, but it looks like that car is just not handling. What's going on out there?
Oh, well, B. Hicks. If I get back to him, he's going to be in the freaking wall.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of contact there, and it definitely seemed like you had some help there. I think maybe that rivalry from about 2 years ago is starting to come back.
No, he's about to be sitting in the third row of the front stretch grandstands when I get back to him.
Third? I don't think that's enough. I think we should shoot for the 5th.
No, he's going to be sent.
All right. Well, I'm going to hold you to that promise, and looks like you're going to be going green here shortly, so we'll let you go back up there. But we'll keep an eye on your car. I think things are going to be pretty interesting for the broadcast.
Oh, yeah. Keep it glued.
Adam Benefiel making a promise, Will.
Yeah, making a promise indeed, but he's got some work to do to work his way back up there now down in the 11th position after that contact from Hicksonball. But now with 25 laps to go, we have a whole different race on our hands. Andre, looks like we're maybe toying with a double file restart. No, it looks like we're going to go single file with the pace lights still on here. So probably going to go green with about 24 laps to go. Maybe next time by, these lights will come off. So I'll throw on some more 2007 facts for you here, Andre. 2007 was the last year that Dale Earnhardt Jr. drove for DEI. He signed with Hendrick Motorsports that summer. And so in 2008, he signed that 5-year deal to race for Hendrick. And you know who he replaced at Hendrick Motorsports?
Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch. That's exactly right. So just some fun facts from the early days of NASCAR there, the early days for us, at least in the early 2000s.
And actually, fun fact, there was a race in 2007, I believe it was, where Kyle Busch was just not happy with the car. He pulled it off. There was nothing wrong with the car. It was operational. He just pulled off because he was angry. Dale Jr. had DNF'd earlier in that event. So Rick Hendrick said, "Hey, can we get somebody to get back in this 5 car?" And Jr. answered the call. He actually drove that car for Hendrick a few months before there was any official word of him going to that team.
Yeah, and you think about how that's all panned out now. Of course, Junior had excellent runs for Hendrick, but you look at Kyle Busch there with Joe Gibbs Racing, no championships to speak of, but still a heck of a job there. And now moving on from Joe Gibbs, I can't remember the team that he's moving to Childress, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, there for this next season. So you think of all how it all panned out for both drivers, and they're Junior's already in the Hall of Fame. Kyle Busch will be in the Hall of Fame when he retires as well. So I think it worked out pretty good for both of them. As we're going to go green flag racing here in the Nostalgia 300, as Stone is going to take the green flag here to start things off with 24 laps to go. It's going to take us down to corner number 1.
Preston McRae being a lap down on the inside. He's going to drop back a little ways there, and that's going to open up the track to kind of free things up for Stone and Burden to battle with Bryson Ixenbaugh not too far behind. Lucas Weitzma getting a familiar sight out of his windshield, looking at the back bumper of that 63. These two have been locked together for the majority of this race, and right now with 23 to go, that is no different. They work their way around that lap car of McRae. And now the top 4 are the first 4 on track, all in a line. We're going to see if maybe they close in on one another. And if we do get another caution, which I'm not really banking on, I'm going to make a bit of a bold prediction here. I think it stays green to the end. But if we did get a caution, I think we've run enough laps now that even though it doesn't seem like a lot, tires could definitely play a factor. You might see some guys get a little bit brave and come down pit road if we were to get a caution. So they're hoping it stays green, that they don't have to make that kind of call. We'll see. 57 starting to inch away from this 3-car group. Burden holding off the 63 at least momentarily, with number 8 also in the fray. Bryson's going to go. That's a surprise, Will. Are you surprised to see Bryson go up there?
Yeah, he's trying that top side lane once again. It worked out for him. Maybe at the midpoint of this race, but to start to experiment now with only 21 laps to go, he might be just trying to find lanes that work out for him. And you see he's going to try to use this lane to his advantage there to try to get around Burden, but a good block from Burden as Hexenball is going to continue this momentum to the outside, heading down to corner number 1. As Eminem once said, he's going round the outside here in corner number 1. Not going to have enough speed, though, as we exit corner number 2. He's going to get squeezed from Burden as we're single file down the backstretch.
You got to think Bryson is driving a little bit more motivated now than before, because with that promise that Adam made, I'm pretty certain he's going to keep it if he gets the chance. So you don't want that 15 getting back to your bumper. Going back to the old NASCAR 2005 chase for the Cup, there is a red indicator over that 15 for Bryson. That rival meter has gone up considerably, and things are not going to be pretty if they come together. So to quote the spotter from that game, best place for him is in your rearview mirror, and he goes around again. Oh my goodness, hard into the outside wall. That's going to be probably terminal damage. Is he going to bring it down to the apron? Man, oh man, he tried to save it. I'm not sure. He just got a little bit too much counter steer into it, but that was a massive slam to the outside wall.
Yeah, that's pretty hard there. A little bit too aggressive there, racing around for Benefield there in that 15, but we hate to see him bow out that way, but it's still a good race out of the 15. It kind of collapsed there at the end of the race, but it's still a good race here nonetheless. As right now we're going to take a look, and we're going to watch this replay here on 3Wide TV. We're going to try to correct it there. That tail is just going to come right up underneath him. He's going to slam that top side wall, and as you mentioned, Andre, I think that's terminal damage there for Benefield.
You know, the way it came back up the track, it almost looked like he was trying to get to the 41. But I'm not sure why he'd be upset with that car. I don't think they had any, or not the 41, I'm sorry, the 81. I don't think they had any run-ins today. I don't think the 81 had anything to do with him getting loose. But it definitely looked like he was targeting him and just missed a little bit, so I don't know. But Stone is still leading the way, but not by much. Look at that gap, 1/10 of a second, dipping down to 900ths of a second at times to Burden. Burden is right on his tail, and look at that, Bryson is there too. So it is a 3-car battle for the lead as Alex Van de Sant, we're kind of focusing on him here with Anderson behind him. He's trying to work his way around McRae so that he can find his way into this battle for the lead and play ball with these guys. But Preston McRae doing a pretty good job holding his line, running his race. He's a lap down, but he doesn't owe anything to anybody. He doesn't have to roll over and give these guys positions. He can run his line and do what he needs to do. And that is perfectly fine. Here we go for the lead. Burden going to go to the bottom, the 57 running that middle groove. Bryson up on that high line. And it is going to be the 57 pulling back out to an advantage down the straightaway, but they're going to be side by side. This may be enough. I think Burden may be close enough now that if he lunges down to the bottom, he can get clear. Bryson is going to move to the bottom. He's going to give a little bit of a draft to that 0-6. Is it going to be enough? Not quite. Still neck and neck. We are too wide, too deep. Too wide for first, too wide for second. These guys are letting it all hang out here on the 14 to go mark. 57 way up to the wall, and I think the 0-6 is going to get clear, but does he throw the slider? No, he does not have the chance. My goodness.
As you see right there, Hotzma's watching all of this take place there on the inside lane. He's just waiting for his opportunity to make his move. Throwing it back to Eminem. Once again, you got one shot, you get one opportunity to get to the top of the grid as Hotzma's just going to follow along Burden there on the inside lane. As you mentioned, Andre, we are 2x2x2 right here. We got Burden on the inside for the first spot. We got Stone on the outside. Then we got Hotzma on the inside there in the 8. Then we got Hicksonball. And now look at Mr. Oh, big wreck! Big wreck on the backstretch. The leader crash out here on the middle of the backstretch at Atlanta. Oh my goodness, this is going to shake things up with 13 laps to go.
0-6 just got T-boned right in the door by Lowry. Lowry, I mean, he's got to have engine damage from that. That was just a head-on direct impact. And man, oh man, that I'd like to see a replay of that, see exactly what transpired. I know that the 0-6 spun off of the bumper of the 57, but I don't know if maybe he checked up in front of Cam or what happened. Let's take a closer look. We got Cam up top. 0-6 throws oh, he wasn't clear. He was not clear, and Cam, I don't think, appreciated him clearing himself and maybe just refused to lift. And then there goes Lowry. I mean, that's one of those moments, Will, that makes you glad that this is a simulator, because if it wasn't, man, oh man.
That was maybe we could take another look at that, Carlos. If we could take another look, maybe from the position of us. Trying to think of Stone would be the good spot there.
Here we go, the blink cam. So he was clear. Oh, just a bit of a bad shove from the 57. And you know, that's easy to do. Sometimes you think you're just going to push somebody down the straightaway. You think you got it lined up right, but the Gen 4 was so round on the front that if you're misaligned even by a few inches, yeah, it's going to go right through. And honestly, may have been misaligned due to netcode because it looked pretty dead on, but the way that car turned, it looked like he was just not aligned. Cameron Stone, a lot of damage up into the outside wall. We're going to go on board with Lowry. This is going to be a scary sight. Just watch right out the windshield here. Trying to get through the smoke, trying to say, I'm through it, Harry, but no, he's not through it. Hard hit for that 56. We do have a driver in the infield care center. Let's bring in Adam Benefield. Well, Adam, I'm disappointed for a number of reasons. Number one, the 15 has spun out again, and number two, you didn't get to keep your promise.
Yeah, I'm more pissed about the promise more than anything else. Just out of 2, I don't know who it was. I think the 38 come off the wall and caught the right front. I went to save it. Had to go back the other way to save it, and then when you mix a sideways car in with a couple of adult beverages, you know, you get a little behind on the steering. But
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you know, it happens. You'll have that on those big jobs. But I was really rooting for Cam. I wanted him to win. I didn't want 63 to win. But then Cam turns an innocent bystander down the straightaway. So I don't know if that's really water in his bottle or not. So we'll have to ask him that.
Now, if Bryson wins this race, are we going to see a Days of Thunder change my tires moment?
Well, I'm gonna save it for 2023 and 100 Cup. He is part of Team Conti, but that really doesn't matter. 100 Cup, he's part of whatever the heck they decided to be this year. So we'll make it hell on him.
All right, making some promises, and I know you. I know you're going to keep that promise, given any opportunity. So that'll be fun to watch. Now, how do you feel about some of these other drivers up in the top three, Adam? Other than Hickson Bye, you've got Hoytsma, you got Van de Sant. Who you taking?
I mean, if we're being honest, I think Lucas has got it. I think he's the only one that didn't hit anything in that last caution. So, uh, he's pretty good, but he's been known to, get a little excited and whiskey throttle it from time to time. So who really knows? That Cheetos car might be able to come back around and win this thing. Just anybody besides 63.
All right. Well, lights are off on the pace car, so we're gonna let you get back to pit road. And hey, if you see a dolly full of tires that says "courtesy of 3 Wide TV" to maybe get back out there and retaliate, totally isn't from me or anything.
Okay, yeah, I'll look for him. Do what? Okay, I'll do it.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Adam. Thanks for all the interviews. It's been fun. We're gonna put you back up, and we'll catch you later.
See you, buddy.
Adam and Afil back to the garage, and making a promise for 2023 in the 100% Cup Series. That'll be fun. Technically teammates on the Coke Series side of things, but not teammates in that league. So definitely nothing holding him back from maybe making his life a little bit difficult in the league. That'll be fun. Lucas Hoytsma is going to lead him to the green. We've got the pace car down pit road. And that number 8 gets a good jump over the 63 with only 8 to go. And Van de Sant, I mean, we know he's fast, but I don't think he's been this far up the grid for quite a while here, Will.
No, we saw Sant with that run earlier in this race. A lot of speeds faded back here as this race is played out. Now he's got that black and white machine in the perfect spot to make a run with 8 laps to go down into 3 and 4. It's getting a little bit more fanned out here on the grid as our race leader Lucas Hotzma is going to take us to the start finish line, make it 7 laps to go, going down to corner number 1.
Bryson not able to close that gap that lap. He's actually falling a little bit further back, so Hoytsma's got a good car, and you heard what Adam said. I mean, Lucas has been really good, and he was one of the only cars not really involved in any incidents tonight, so he's got a damage-free car. There's a bit of a scuffle out back. I believe that may have been Hoffman getting a little bit sideways in the 21, but able to recover it nonetheless, and the 38 trying to fend off that Kodiak number 41. I do not believe that's for position. Oh no, it is for position. That is 4th and 5th. Who would have thought that? Well, I mean, these two drivers were more than 1 lap down at the halfway mark, and now here they are battling it for the top 5. And we do see the 15 back out on track, heeding Carlos's advice, saying, "Hey, get back out on track," and that is exactly what Adam is doing.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think we saw the last of Carrington there. After that very, very, very early mistake out of that machine, he's now inside the top 5. Try to chase down Van Sant there to try to get inside the podium right there. What a good finish that would be from Carrington to scrape it out after all the chaos, all the things that he's had to gone through here tonight. He might run out of laps there to get that podium finish. But right now, all eyes should be on Lucas Hotzma in that number 8 machine as we come around 3 and 4. Hixenbaugh is right there as well on that back bumper. We're going to cross this line with less than 5 laps to go here in the Nostalgia 300 as we go down to corner number 1.
Just 4 more times around Atlanta Motor Speedway, and only 0.2 of a second separating 1 and 2. Van de Sant about 0.6 of a second back. He's definitely in position. He's not out of the game yet. 4th and 5th, a little bit further back. Carrington and Taylor going to be 1.5 and 1.7 seconds back, respectively. Not really going to be in the game unless something happens ahead of them, but you never know. especially with these old cars here at Atlanta. We've seen crazy things so far tonight. And it is going to be 3 to go. Lucas Hoytsma still in the lead at the point, but Bryson closing the gap even more that time by. He was about a tenth faster. Now he's going to migrate to that line that he has loved all night long, the line that he has used consistently. He's going to the top, and you can see on this onboard cam just how much of a run that is giving him out of the corner, gaining more than a car length by the time they get to the next set of corners. And of course, that center speed down low is going to help out Lucas, but look at this, driving down the banking. Bryson's going to look low, and the 8 cannot defend. We're going to go side by side, 2 to go. Bryson trying to win the Nostalgia 300. If he can make it happen on the bottom, how deep can he drive it? Is he going to have to lift? That's the question. He does lift a little bit, neck and neck down the back straight.
Yeah, we're neck and neck. Shout out to John Force because we're drag racing here at Atlanta down into 3 and 4 around the apex of the corner. Now to the exit of 4. We are side by side for the race lead, and the white flag is out here in the Nostalgia 300 as we head down to corner number 1, our final lap of this race.
Lucas was able to get the advantage by just a nose this time by, but he's going to have to try to do it again next time if he wants to win this race. This is for all the marbles. Coming down the back straightaway for the final time. Bryson with an aggressive side draft. He's going to have to drive it in deep, down low. Can he make a move? No, he backs off. He falls back from the bumper of the 8. He's not going to be close enough to make the move. It's going to be Lucas Hoytsma out of turn 4, winning the Nostalgia 300.
Whoa!
And he's going to throw it sideways at the line. I've seen people drift across the line, but that was next level. Bryson Hicksonbaugh, second place. Van de Sant on the podium in third. Casey Carrington, maybe not getting the full redemption that he was seeking, but a much better run than last year. He's going to finish in fourth. Bryce Hoffman, through everything that he was through tonight, kind of quietly working his way up the grid, finishes top 5. Jason Taylor, he was 2 laps down at one point. He finishes on the lead lap in 6th. We got Terrell in the 81, P7. Burden, after the incident, is going to be 8th. Preston McRae, 9th. Anderson is going to be P10 after being involved in that last incident. Well,
yeah, and we're going to make it rain Oreos down in Victory Lane here tonight. I don't think there's going to be any beer in Victory Lane. I think it's all going to be milk and cookies as Luca Holtzma is going to win in that Oreo machine. We talked about how much we love that paint scheme here tonight, and now he's going to burn it down here on the front stretch of Hot Atlanta, as they used to call it, the days of Chris down here. And man, what a ludicrous win it was for Lucas here in that 8 machine.
yeah, I mean, we knew he was fast. He was battling with Robert Anderson, Bryson Hicksonbaugh, Cameron Stone, some of the fastest guys on the track, but never really got up there to lead too many laps on his own outside of staying out longer than the other guys. But the way everything fell at the end of this race with the cautions and some of the competition being cold through those incidents, he was able to get out front, and he just never looked back. Again, there is our final results. We kind of already went through the top 10, so we'll just go through quickly. Lucas Hoytsma, Bryson Hicksonbaugh, Alex Van de Sant, Casey Carrington, Bryce Hoffman, Jason S. Taylor, Nick Terrell. We've got Burden in 8th. P9 is going to go to Preston McRae, and 10th is going to be Anderson.
Yeah, you see 10th is Anderson, 11th is Cameron right there, Cameron Stone, I do believe. And then we look at 12th right there of Laurie. 13th of Benefield, we spoke to him a few times here tonight. 14th is going to be Winters. 15th is going to be Nelson right there. And we're getting into the guys that didn't have the best runs here tonight there, Andre. But for a lot of this field and a lot of this race here, the way we started out was very calm, cool, and collected. Didn't see anybody really pushing the envelope, but as these laps started to tick down, we started to see some yellow flags come out, and the racing got a little bit more anxiety-ridden, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it was never a relaxed race necessarily. These guys were really battling for the majority of the race, but when those cautions came out, it went from a stressful race to, like you said, just anxiety-inducing. It was definitely tough for a lot of these guys, but it was a number 8 that came out on top. And tough break for Cameron Stone and Burden. Both those guys had really great runs going, and just a bad bump. The 57 tried to shove them down the straightaway, and maybe in the Gen 6 or the Gen 7 car that would have been a fine move to make, but this is Gen 4. These noses are not aligned in the slightest. And I mean, we're full on in the Twisted Sister era. You got to be careful with the bump draft, but unfortunately for them, didn't quite work out, and it was in the number 8's favor. We're gonna try to get some post-race interviews lined up. We're gonna have a word with our podium finishers. We're gonna throw it to Cold Mike for just a moment while we get them sorted out, and we will be back. And we have our interviews lined up. We're going to have a word with third place, Alex Van Desant. Mr. Van Desant, you got a copy?
I got you.
Well, Alex, it was up and down night, but it definitely looked like there was speed under the hood of that 96 all night long, wherever you were in the grid. And ultimately, you were able to persevere, and you played it really smart at the end, whereas some of the other guys kind of maybe got a little bit too anxious. And you're walking away with a podium in the Nostalgia 300.
Yeah, really happy with that. I had no idea what to expect in terms of pace, like where I would end up in the field. So P3 is fantastic. Yeah, I struggled early on. I haven't driven this car much, so I didn't really know what the tires were going to do. So I just used the first half to kind of like learn and figure out what the limits are and how the car raced. And so by the end, I think I had decent long run pace. Definitely could have been better, and I don't think I was on the right strategy. But with the just kept it clean with the craziness at the end, and really happy with that.
Now, you're a full-time driver in the 100% Cup Series, driving the next-gen car. I gotta ask, do you think that being used to the Gen 7 car was a hindrance trying to go back to the ARCA car, or was there anything that you learned from that car that maybe helped you?
Maybe. I'll say it was nice to be able to just push right from the start of a stint instead of having to do the wacky tire saving stuff. But I think I was a little overeager at the start of this race in terms of that. I just didn't know quite how to save the tires. At the start of the race, apologies to Casey, I didn't know how long the front of the car is, and so I kind of hooked him on lap one. So glad there wasn't more of that, and I got that out of the system early. But it was more a lack of familiarity with the car that hurt me more than familiarity with the Gen 7, I think.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Now, this race, being the more old school rules, we had the single file restarts with the lap cars on the inside. We had no stages breaking up the race. Do you maybe prefer this style of racing, or what was your experience with it?
Oh, it was a blast. That long run was super intense. I mean, there were 3 different strategies that were viable at one point, and that was just really, really fun. And then with the restarts, that was wild. I haven't experienced anything like that. That was like before my time as a NASCAR fan, so I hadn't seen any of that. But yeah, thankfully we more or less got through it all clean, and it was just a blast, this event. So thanks to Bryson for putting it on.
All right. Well, congratulations on the podium, and we're going to let you go celebrate that finish, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Now, Will Tiller has caught up with second place, Bryson Ixenbaugh.
Yeah, I'm catching up with Bryson Hexabaugh, now the driver of that 63 machine. And Bryson, here tonight, you showed that you had the speed. You were running maybe inside the top 5, top 3 majority of the night. You finished just one position short here in the Nostalgia 300 here at Atlanta. Take us through your race here tonight. And I know second place is not where you want to finish, but it's still a good run there for the 63.
Yeah, this was a great night for us here. This was a lot of fun driving this car, and this track is just amazing. I spent most of the beginning of the race just running the high line, because I knew I needed to put a little bit of rubber down in that to help it out, and it really made it work really good in that second half of the race. I could see the rubber come in after just 50 laps, and it was working really good there. Use that to my advantage a lot tonight. Fortunately, I think I spent a little bit too much time up there, because then coming to the end of the race, I didn't know how to complete the pass on the bottom. But something to learn for future races.
Yeah, it seemed like all of your strategies were paying off for you, whether it was a pit strategy, and then the high side strategy that you were basically running all night long. Actually, my co-host Andre was saying you were most comfortable there on the high side. We saw a few drivers try that high side once those tires got a little bit more worn. But Bryson, were you surprised at the pace of this race? Because when the race started out, it was a lot of single file racing, not a lot of passes for position. But then as we crept up to the halfway mark, we started to see a caution flag flew late in the race, another caution. Were you surprised at the way this race panned out here tonight?
A little bit. Last year in our race, we had just one caution about halfway, and then went green to the end. And thought that might be what was going to happen here after the first caution. It took a little bit to get that first one, and that was a long run there. I think over 150 laps. That was a blast though, racing, because we were racing the entire time. After about like lap 50, it was me, Lucas, and Robert were just side by side for 100 laps straight, and then a couple strategy calls, definitely making the race interesting on 3-stop versus 4-stop. And then coming to the end of the race, once the second caution happened, where I kind of ran over Adam and spun him out in front of the field. That was unfortunate, but I just misjudged exit. I thought I had him thought I had space on the outside there, but ran into the back of him, lifted him up, and kind of took him out.
Yeah, I was just about to touch on that incident between you and the 15. 15 of Benefield didn't feel too good about that, but I guess racing's racing here at Atlanta.
Yeah, racing is definitely racing. We've had our incidents in the past. Hopefully this doesn't ruin our relationship, but I think we hashed it out a little bit on pit road, but I kind of looking over my shoulder here to make sure he doesn't attack me during this interview.
I got you. No helmets being thrown or anything, but Bryson, you're come home second here tonight in the Nostalgia 300. Or is there anybody that you wanted to shout out here that might have been watching your great run here at Atlanta, or any sponsors that made this race possible for you?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody who joined and helps make this race possible. Definitely wish there could have been some more people in it, but we still had a blast out there with the field that did show up, and the 15 cars out here still felt like it was 30 or 40.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was an exciting race for us up here in the booth, but for you tonight, Bryson, you're going to come home second in the Nostalgia 300. We appreciate you taking the time with us here, my man, and hope to see you again here soon.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Sir, that was Bryson Hicksonball. He's going to finish second here tonight. Andre, one of the fastest cars out there. But as he just spoke about that last strategy to stay out just a little bit longer, use up those tires just a little bit more, open the door for our race winner of Lucas Hoetzma.
Yeah, definitely had a solid run going and just came up a little bit short, and can't complain walking away with a podium though when a race goes as off the rails and unpredictable as that one really was. So we're going to catch up with race winner Lucas Hoetzma. Let's see if we can bring him in. Lucas Hoetzma, you got a copy?
Gotcha.
Well, Lucas, that was quite the eventful, and I mean the whole race was eventful. I mean, you and Robert and Bryson, you guys were just pretty much linked at the bumper. You guys were racing all race long, but then that late race caution comes out. You're starting in, I believe, row 2 or row 3. You're looking at the guys in front of you. What was going through your mind, and what was the battle plan?
It was mostly just stay on the high side. I mean, Bryson had been running that real well the entire race. I wanted to stay on the bottom because I felt like it saved tires maybe just a teeny bit better. Not sure, but I just felt safer on the bottom. But I had to tread up there. I had to go up to the top because it was the best way to hold somebody off. And it worked pretty well, especially because I think Bryson hadn't been running the bottom the whole race. You know, he took him a while to figure it out, and he just kind of ran out of time there. But man, we were side by side, and man, it was so awesome racing there.
Yeah, it was a really great battle. Now, you mentioned that you thought you could save some tire running on the bottom. And that's kind of what we were talking about in the broadcast. We kept thinking, man, Bryson's got to be killing his tires up at the top. Is the tire model just a little bit different with this car where you can kind of get away with running the top, and that's how Bryson managed to maintain his speed? Or did you feel like you were saving down on the bottom?
I think I was saving, I think I was just saving a little bit, but definitely not to the extent of any of the other series or cars. I think the speed that the top gets, along with maybe the top doesn't burn as much tire as it should, for this tire model. I think it was pretty even throughout an entire run, so it didn't really matter where you ran. You were kind of just going to be the same speed where you are.
Now, early in this race, you guys were green for over 150 consecutive laps without a caution. How was the experience with that? Was it tough getting that long green flag run and not really getting a moment to breathe, or was it just kind of one of those things where you got in a zone and just started clicking off laps?
Oh, by far one of the toughest races I have ever been in. That wheel-to-wheel racing at my limit for 150, 160 laps straight is probably the toughest thing I have ever done on this sim. I did not think it was going to be that tough, but man, these cars are a handful. Couple that without a side-by-side with these guys, the whole race is just, man, that was tougher than these full-length races we do every Saturday.
Yeah, it definitely looked like you guys had your hands full. Like I said, I mean, just you never got a moment to breathe. You guys were just racing bumper to bumper, door to door for 100 and some odd laps. Just never got away from each other. It was a blast to watch, though, up to the booth. Now, obviously, we got to congratulate you on the win, but I got to point out, when you went to slide it across the line, did you expect to get that sideways when you were trying to drift it across the line, or was that according to plan?
Well, the slide was according to the plan, but then when I saw the green pit marker at the end, I was a little afraid of a penalty. That was not planned, so yeah, I had a little bit of a scare, but we got through it clean.
All right, well, again, congratulations on the win. Is there any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Oh, just you want to shout out Oreo, Chance 2 Motorsports. My teammate there, Adam Benefield, he was sticking the finger at me during the race, so I don't appreciate that, but I'll be going to talk to him. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and Bryson for setting this whole thing up. This was an absolute blast, and I look forward to doing it again next year.
All right. Well, congratulations. We're going to let you go celebrate.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Race winner out of the booth, and that is just gonna about do it for us here at the post-race coverage of the Nostalgia 300 2022 edition. A bit of a different show than last year for sure. I think this race was a lot more action-packed than the Chicagoland race we had last year. What were your impressions of the race, Will?
Yeah, my impressions of the race is that we started to see some guys rise up to the crop early there to start off this race. We had some reshuffling going on between the different pit strategies. Other guys took gambles. Other guys went down pit road. Then everything kind of just flew out the window there, Andre, with about, I would say, 30 or 40 laps to go. Our first caution flag flew. Everybody headed down pit road with the exception of about 4 or 5 cars. Made the field basically even once again. Raced it out. Had leaders get entangled on the backstretch as well when we closed this race down. We restarted with about 4 laps to go, which gave us that excellent finish at the end. And Lucas Holtzma really came through in a car that we spotlighted through the race because we were all in love with that Oreo race car, trying to figure out whether it was Tony Stewart, Dale Jr., who ran that paint scheme. But here tonight, it's Lucas who makes that paint scheme stand out in victory lane in that 8 machine.
I think he was trying to take that car home. I think he was just trying to drive home in it. I'm not entirely sure it's street legal. But before we close out the broadcast, Carlos, would you like to announce what exactly that mystery reward was?
I sure would. The mystery reward here tonight. We did it last year. We didn't want to announce it fully this year. Because we want the actual winner of this award to actually do it, because that's what they do, not because they know that there's an award. But tonight's award was the 3Y TV Mama Ain't Raised No Quitter Award, which is given to the driver who finishes the most laps down of the race, but finished the race. And for that, this year is Adam Benefield. So he will be receiving $5 as part of the actual prize money. So he has gotten back the money he paid for entering the race. So not all is lost for him.
Very nice.
Absolutely, a nice little bit of a consolation after a tough race. But that is going to do it for us here at the Nostalgia 300. I'm Andre Graham Bush, joined alongside Will Tiller. and Carlos Costa pushing the buttons, bringing all the action to your TVs and computers. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.